Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hidden Side Quest podcast with episode 5 today. Today is number 5. As you can see, Edwin is not here today. He is out on vacation, so hopefully he's having a wonderful vacation. But I brought my good friend Hector here to join me today. Say hello, Hector.
Hello. Hello,
Perfect.
hello.
Perfect. Me and Hector, when me and Edwin kind of, made this podcast idea, we threw around having guests at some point in time. And Hector gets the honor of being our first guest on the podcast. And to be honest, it makes sense because every time me and Hector go to our maybe monthly, bi-monthly dinner, we usually just eat and talk about games for the 2-3 hours we're sitting there. So, when the idea of bringing on Hector just to sub in for Edwin, I just felt like it was a good fit. So, welcome, Hector. Glad you can join us. Um, so
Honored to be here.
yeah, so similar to last week, the last week me and Edwin basically had one topic, and that topic was basically what would the Switch 2, like a Switch 2 hype, but that was basically the subject of the podcast. And similar to today, we're going to basically have a subject, and then we're just going to ramble on about it. So today's subject is basically the state of Xbox. Now, the state of Xbox has been kind of a running joke on my channel. I've made shorts about it, I've made memes about it, and I've also had one of my first full videos I made last year was just me just talking about how disappointed I am with Xbox. And I do plan to make kind of a follow up to that video eventually. I do have a script kind of in the works for that. But Hector here is like a big Xbox guy, to say the least. So I feel like when we've talked about Xbox, we've had very civil conversations, and I feel like we're not like arguing like we hate each other. I think we both bring up valid points in like the direction Xbox has taken, and I think in Hector's case, you're gonna see that he has a little bit more hope for them than I do. I think my hopes dwindled down over the years, but I think for different reasons. But yeah, we're gonna kind of dissect that today. So Hector, if you want to start off, just kind of telling us your history with Xbox, and why. I mean, as far as I can tell, right? It's your gaming platform of choice. That's what you game on the most, and it's what you choose to game on. So go ahead and tell us your history and tell us why you choose to game on Xbox.
Yeah, as far as that goes, I don't have like the most extensive knowledge as far as, PCs go. I'm hoping to delve into that. But as far as Xbox goes and PlayStation, I've owned all of them growing up. And uh, I'm public offender number one when it comes to defending Xbox. I'm going to ride or die for my Microsoft buddies. Um, you're similar with Nintendo, so it's like everybody has their niche and everybody wants to be. I think it's all for the hope of bettering the gaming community. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's at the end of the day what we all want. And to see a downfall of one station or one company over the other is not what we want. Competition makes everything better. We all seen it over time. We
Mm-hmm.
all seen the the GTA wars or who can release Call of Duty faster, and that just all of that just kind of incites more people to play games. And I've played Xbox since the Xbox One came out. I had a PS2, loved the heck out of that thing. Played some Vice City on that thing, some Rainbow Six Original Vegas on that. Um, but Xbox ultimately was my console of choice, man. It's to me, I can always rely on it, and I think it's like I like being on a side where they're gonna try things, and they constantly want to do something different, even though I know it can come at a shortfall. So it's rough being an Xbox fan out there.
And I think I think that's a perfect way to put it. I think being an Xbox fan, at least from the outer point of view, does seem like you guys had a rough ride the last few years. I personally know a lot of people who were Xbox fanboys, is the right way to put it, and they've kind of just dropped off, they've fallen off, they've given up. And for those listening, that because I know I have a few close friends, family members that listen that maybe not, aren't in the gaming ecosystem enough to know kind of what we're talking about. But um, back in back in the day when Xbox
Back in my
360,
day,
yeah, back in my day,
there's
Xbox
games in the horizon.
Xbox kind of came once PlayStation and Nintendo were duking it out. PlayStation kind of became king while they kind of left Nintendo in the dust. So Xbox kind of threw their shoe in the ring, and they didn't do that great. That generation, the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox generation, is notorious. The PS2 just dominated the GameCube and Xbox. It wasn't even funny how like the PS2 sold like
Oh yeah,
160
not
million.
even close.
Yeah, and Xbox and GameCube both sold around like 25 million, and that might even be generous. That might be rounding up, to be honest. Um,
For all intents and purposes, if that PS2 came out when all these Steam Decks and new third-party devices, the Meta, if that came out at that time, PS2 would have washed those companies. Those
oh,
companies would have been a blip
yeah,
in history. There's like,
and it's an interesting point in history because this was before like Xbox. I just called you Xbox. Hector, Hector just mentioned Hector,
no.
Hector just mentioned that you know, Xbox does try things, and that's something I feel like we're kind of lacking on. And I think that kind of started with the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, where like things got a little too safe. Like it was just this console's just better graphics, and I think it was the next console generation where I think this. I will stand by this. I still think the 360, the PS3, and the Wii generation is by far the most interesting generation to
The
talk about.
best. Oh,
Yeah.
it's the most influential. I think it's the most. I think if we looked at an overall, well, at that time, you could look at an overall log on because there was live at that point.
Hmm.
But if you just looked at like just general statistics as far as who's buying games, how many games are sold, I think that generation, those three consoles, damn, those things
Yeah.
reached out.
And they
Those
did,
things,
and
yeah.
there was a reason to have all three in my. I had all three, and I loved all three,
Oh,
and
you
I
had
did
to.
different
If you
three.
didn't,
Yeah, and I did
you're not a
different things
gamer.
on all three. Like my Nintendo console was my family, Mario console. The PS3 was more for like my story games, and then I played most of my third party, my Call of Duties, my Halos, my Gears of War. That was on the Xbox console. And it was kind of like everybody was kind of thriving in their own way. Yes, everybody was, slicing their throats trying to get like who's the winner, who's the winner, who's the winner. But like in terms of sales that generation, everything was pretty close. The Wii managed to sell the most, but not by a lot compared to the PS3 and Xbox, where they all, if you want to average it out, they all sold almost like 90 million each. And I think it was a very healthy console cycle. But when the new consoles were revealed, Xbox and Nintendo kind of handed the throne to PlayStation. The Nintendo announced their Wii U, which was dog water, and well, not dog water to
Yeah.
me. We know I love the Wii U, but the general reception was people didn't understand what it was, and the Wii U bombed big time. And Xbox kind of dropped the ball big time, kind of just announcing their Xbox One, but
Oh,
in the
that one.
wrong,
Oh,
yeah, in the wrong way. And this is where I think our first big discussion is gonna start. Just like people often clarify that is the beginning of the downfall of Xbox, and Xbox has still been trying to climb this hill since 2012, 2013, whenever this conference
20.
was.
Yeah.
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 So at this conference
But
again,
just before the middle of last decade. Yeah.
yeah. So at this uh, what did it call it? Conference. Jesus. At this conference, basically Xbox announced that they're gonna be doing these new ideas to the gaming landscape, like an only online Xbox, and you can't share games, and your Kinect camera needs to constantly be plugged in and on. And these ideas were definitely just hated upon in the gaming community, and people were like, "Oh my God, is this the future of gaming?" And then to slap them in the face one more time, they put the price tag of $500 on it. People were not happy. PlayStation had a conference that same day, and basically came back, said, "We're not doing any of that. You can share games, and the price is $400." And just like that, I knew friends like my friend Nick, who was the biggest Xbox fanboy I knew at the time, immediately just texted me, "Yeah, I'm getting a PlayStation." And it was that simple. Where if Nick's Nick could be hard headed sometimes. So the fact that he just flipped like that Like this
Nick doesn't like
shows,
change. He likes
yeah,
consistency,
it's
you know.
exactly,
But that I think that goes to show. I think that it wasn't consistent is the fact that he can find he can reconcile with the PS5 or
yeah,
the PS4. He can find solace in going there and still feeling that I get to share my games. I get to do what I need to do. It's a game console, not a multimedia player.
exactly. And since then, Xbox is trying to has been trying to figure out a way to kind of win those fans back. But the problem with winning fans back is you don't really win them back. You only lose fans, and that generation is a perfect idea of how that's played out. You know, people didn't switch to PlayStation because they loved PlayStation. They switched to PlayStation because they had no other options, and because of that, PlayStation fans were made, and you know, PlayStation is still thriving in its own way even today. And you know, same thing with the Wii U, where a lot of Nintendo people just kind of shifted over to more hardcore consoles, and Nintendo found a pot of gold with Switch kind of being this middle tier console where like it's not everybody's main console, but like it's a good secondary console, and I feel like that's a good market for Nintendo to aim for. But to this day, Xbox has been trying to they've been trying things. They have Game Pass, which is something I know we're going to talk about a lot because Game Pass is basically their big
Mm.
motto right now. Game Pass is basically the face of the Xbox right now, for better or for worse. And now we're at a time now that Xbox is being a lot more generous with sharing their games to the competition. They're putting games on PlayStation constantly now. They're putting games on Switch. Phil Spencer, president of Xbox, is already confirmed that they're gonna be Switch 2 games at launch. Like it sounds like Xbox is doubling down on essentially being a third party. And I know some people hate to hear that, but I mean that's the market they look at, and that's the market they want, and that's the world we live in. So with Game Pass, I feel like Game Pass is kind of just there now. Like it's not something people will talk about much. And with games coming to PlayStation and Switch 2, um, does that affect you as an Xbox fan, or are you just yeah, it's happening?
So, as far as Game Pass goes, originally it's a roller coaster with Game Pass because I mean, just to preface what we're all about to say, you can't talk about Xbox without talking about PlayStation. You can't talk about Xbox without talking about Nintendo because all that plays hand in hand, right? They're all holding each other in the same circle of the gaming universe, and if one falls, one rises, one rises, one falls. They're gonna. It's not that they take advantage of each other. It's that the gaming community, like you said, it's gonna shift. It's gonna shift to the path of least resistance. You put more resistance on the consoles you release, on the things you do to your console. There's gonna be a bigger shift. You're squeezing gamers out of your potential pool of people who could play. But to kind of just stick on the Game Pass thing, at first when it released, I was a little skeptical because it's like, hey, my online membership is gonna increase if I want to do more things. That's a little. I mean, PlayStation ended up doing that after. Not to put a blame on them or anything, but they did raise their online without releasing anything more than what they already had. So it was kind of a weird thing for them to have done right after Game Pass got released, because at least Xbox released a program with the price hike. But at first it was, if you went into Game Pass originally, it was nothing but like titles you really didn't want to play. You had no idea what these games were because they weren't being, commercialized, or it's just games you already had. It's like games you already played. So it was very like, it was odd getting it the first time uh with my, because I know it came out a little bit after the Xbox Series X came out, or the
Yeah,
Series X's,
I have no idea when it came
whatever
out.
you want to call them. It came just about there, but what ended up happening was like, you expected a lot of titles to get released with the Xbox, but what it ended up happening is you just got a lot of re-releases for um, the console you just had before, all those games you
Yeah,
just previously had, which is all, honestly, if you want to make a real point of it, PlayStation and backwards compatibility, not the best of friends. So I think that was probably their intention, trying to do that. But then you got all those acquisitions, and then that kind of like pumped it up a little bit, and not only did it get people excited, but it also had people questioning, well, how is this, how is that profitable? That's a big question. Like, there's no way long term that's the great thing. There's no way. But I think I've come to realize in the grand scheme of things, I think they want to take the loss. I think Microsoft has always been, or Xbox, I guess in particular, has always been a company who wants to do something so different. They don't care if it loses them money. One, they're Microsoft, they got the money, which is ugh. I hate saying that. And I'm an Xbox fan, but they have the money to do those kinds of things, and it's like if they think it's gonna be something that's gonna promote a bigger gamer universe, I think they should go for it. I even if it's a bad decision, as long as it's not trying to veer off of the whole gaming situation. Like the Xbox, like you said, the Xbox One. Oh my gosh, a fantastic, glorified failure. That was so
Yeah.
bad. Like I remember I went outside a lot more that year, and the whole thing with Game
Contemplating
Pass is I,
life.
I think like just thinking like what did I even need to do anymore?
Yeah.
So it's like with all these acquisitions and all this money, I think they're trying to overtake Steam. I think that's what they want to do at the end of the day. They want a Game Pass to be household name everywhere on any console you can get on. Because you don't hear Xbox anymore when you hear Game Pass. I talk to people with Game Pass and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have Game Pass," and then they have to be like, "Oh, PC. Sorry, I have PC Game Pass," which, as you know, is entirely different from Xbox Game Pass at this point.
Yeah.
They're two different monsters. But it's like
Which is weird, by the way.
it's
I want to
it's
add.
it is no, you're right. It
It
should be
should be
more
one thing.
compatible. Yeah,
Why
I
can't I
don't know
play
why that's a
Banjo on
thing.
my PC Xbox? It's on Game Pass on Xbox. Why can't I play it on
Let me
PC?
do the things I need to
My
do.
God. Anyways, I'm gonna be ranting
And
about
it's
Banjo a
like
lot more later, but
no, but you're constantly right though. Oh, the whole Rare acquisition was
yeah.
amazing. I hope they do things with Sea of Thieves. But I mean, like you said, uh, it's an odd choice that they made. But I hope it's all for the better of being gamers. And I think they're just I think they're finding their footing. They're like Bambi coming out of the womb
Yeah.
for the first time. They don't know where they're standing and they don't know how to stand, how tall they should stand with it.
Well, I do agree with you. I do agree with you there. I think they're trying to they're finally figuring it out, but I think what they're coming out and doing is not what people want them to do. So I'm gonna back up a little and say Xbox has been trying to do things the last few years, and they have been definitely taking bullets. Whether it's financially or not making a profit, like they've been taking bullets. But again, Microsoft can take the bullets because I think the end image was, or the end goal was, that their image would change, that they would win back the hardcore, that they would have more of a stomp into the race of like PlayStation, Nintendo. But I just don't think that's happening. I think Xbox fans are appreciative of like what they're doing, but it's not really increasing value or interest in the brand itself. Game Pass is a great example of that. Where like when Game Pass was announced, you're right, it was a bunch of Xbox One games and 360 games, but that was okay because a lot of people skipped out on the Xbox One
Yeah.
generation. So you had these games that like, oh yeah, I heard
That's
about
no excuse for the Wii
no,
U.
it's just for
just
Wii U.
just
No,
to bring
no,
that up, that's no
yeah,
excuse for the Wii
no, Wii U, and that Nintendo's Virtual Console is a whole different monster.
U.
But because the Game Pass starting off like that, I think it made sense. And moving forward, the big promise was these bigger games were going to be on Game Pass day one. And originally, that's a cool promise, and that's a cool hook. My first game on Game Pass was Sea of Thieves. I have never paid for Sea of Thieves on Xbox. Game Pass was the I bought Game Pass that night to play Sea of Thieves, and then play other games. And that's how they get you. They get you with one game you're interested in, and then they reel you back in with like, well, you have 100 other games you can play, and it's a cool concept. But you fall into the problem as a consumer then, as me. And again, this is like Xbox is the bottom of the barrel for me. For me, now I expect all my big games to be on Game Pass, Xbox wise. And now Xbox has shot them in the foot of where like Xbox are making these really expensive games, and now people expect them to put them on Game Pass. And when you start looking at the numbers, back then Game Pass was a lot cheaper than what it is now, and they've had to raise the price for this exact reason, but they just weren't making money off these games. And we've talked about this. Me and Hector have talked about this at a dinner a while back, but like it seems like Xbox fans are, I don't want to say like trained because that sounds like obedient, but they've learned to just, oh yeah, if it's on Game Pass, I'll play it. If I have to pay $70 for it, I'm gonna be a lot less interested in it. And I think once Xbox kind of dabbled in the Switch and PlayStation marketplaces, where they're charging $60 for Sea of Thieves, where they're charging $40 for Grounded on Switch, they realize, oh my god, we are totally missing a market here because people are just paying for Game Pass. And once those games hit PlayStation and Switch, Microsoft raised the Game Pass price like a few weeks later because I think I mean, I'm sure that was in the works to begin with, but I'm sure they realized like we're missing the mark here. We're like our biggest, and I'm sure their market is a lot bigger on Xbox. I'm sure a lot more people are playing Sea of Thieves on Xbox, but that's because of Game Pass. You raise those numbers, and Sea of Thieves is still a game that's constantly being updated. It's constantly still has a team on it. Like that can't be cheap. It's a game that I've heard that's like has a bunch of DLC content that I don't even recognize. Like that's a game that's constantly being funded. But where is it being funded at? Like, and you start looking at these Game Pass prices, and and Hector mentioned it earlier, like, you start looking at it like, where's the profit in this? And there is no profit. Microsoft's just taking the bullet. But with Microsoft, and for those of you who aren't keeping in the news, it seems like Microsoft has stepped in the Xbox ecosystem a lot heavily this past year because they're just not making money. They're not making the big splash they wanted. They're not making money. Their consoles aren't selling. So now they're getting involved like, all right, you're not making Halo sell like it used to. Put it on PlayStation. Put it on Switch. Like, and these are big rumors we've heard and when those games come to PlayStation and Switch, that's going to make a huge splash. And it's going to make, people realize like, so Xbox still has the ka-ching, but they're kind of dispensing it in the wrong way and the wrong ideas on their home console. And the whole idea of an Xbox home console is like, interesting to me because with these big games being released on other consoles now, like the whole gimmick of owning a console is their exclusives. And I don't care how you spin it. That's how it, people buy Switches to play Pokemon. Even if it's for 1 day, 2 weeks, they still bought the Switch. But they don't play it anymore. It doesn't matter. They gave Nintendo the $300. They won. The Switch was sold. In the same vein of like, people say, oh, there's nothing to play on PlayStation. It's like, well, do you have a PlayStation 5? Like, yeah. I was like, okay, then they don't need to incentivize you anymore. And these games will kind of just, the games will always sell with the market they have. With Xbox, I bought an Xbox, what is the Series X? I bought an Xbox Series X and the promise of, at the time, Xbox bought all these companies and all these game developers and like, you know what? This console's they're struggling right now, but one day they're gonna get it together and release all these bangers. And they've released good games the last few years, but they've also been on other consoles. So if I can go back in time and tell Randy, like, you get to play these bangers, but you also get to play them on your PC or your PlayStation or even your Switch, and it would decentivize me, like, well, why do I need the Xbox then? And I know I've been talking a lot, but like, what's your opinion on that? Like, as an Xbox fan, like, do you think it's even worth owning? Are you gonna buy the next Xbox knowing that these games are gonna come to other consoles, or are you gonna branch out and maybe invest in a PC or put all your gold in that basket, or maybe you will dip your toe in the PlayStation, knowing that they're still gonna get the Xbox games, but now you get to play some Sony exclusives. And I think your household's always gonna have a Switch somewhere, so I feel like that's not even the conversation. But
Yeah, I have kids,
yeah,
so they're
yeah,
gonna
so
want you
they're
to.
gonna get
And
a
yeah, like you
Switch.
said, Pokemon. I like the Pokemon games, and I want to give those a try. So that's always a good selling point. And I hope Switch hangs on to that. But I hope Nintendo hangs on to that. And I think generally we might be looking at this the wrong way. I think one, I'm definitely gonna buy another Xbox. Just as much as I'm gonna buy the other consoles. I like being a gamer. Um, but I think the big point here is I think if I don't think Xbox really minds that sales are going towards PC at least. That's because Microsoft's going to make the money off of that regardless. I don't care what you say. Any PC you buy, almost 80% of the time runs on some kind of Microsoft or Windows, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just going to be that way for a while. So I think they're like, you know what? That's not the worst. But I think bringing up your point that they release it on other consoles, but at a sale point, is almost to the benefit of Xbox, in my personal opinion. One, obviously they're gonna have to charge it because Switch wants or Nintendo wants to make the money, so Sony wants to make the money too. They're not gonna want losses on that, and they see that the Game Pass, blah blah blah. But I think Xbox was kind of banking on that, because in my mind, I see it a little alternatively. I'm not going to get a PlayStation or Switch and get the games I could get on Xbox just because they're on there for $60 more. I'm like, oh, I could play that and that on my Xbox for free if I really wanted to. Like I didn't need to go get it for those things. Like it's almost like it could be a vice versa. That's the thing. I personally think the reason Microsoft is touching more into the Xbox pool right now is because I'm not gonna point fingers, but I don't think Sony is doing the most that they could be doing right now. They had a chance to take real big advantage of this Xbox dump that they took with all these acquisitions of Activision, Blizzard, Rare, all these, the multitude of companies that they acquired. They could have definitely done better with all that. Bethesda, Arcane Studios, ID Software, all of them. They could have done more with it, but PlayStation didn't do anything about it, which I feel like they had its opportunity to bank somewhere where Xbox didn't,
Are you
and you
telling me
could
like, are
say
you
like,
saying
yeah,
like
some of the games.
Sony to buy the companies, or what do you mean
No, no,
by?
no. Just like do something as far as they saw that Xbox wasn't releasing more titles,
Uh,
so Sony could have released GTA a little earlier. They could have, they could have done the things they really should have done, like the newer GTA's, or they could have, um, uh, laid out more of what is it called, a roadmap as to what they want to do, but they didn't. You're not hearing that much from Sony. They're more of like a here's this big title, here's us at this or game con telling you what we might do, but there's not like a real like big thing. I feel like if you're gonna listen to gamer news, you're mostly hearing about either PC hardware or how Xbox is doing something that might or might not break their company. I feel like that's what you're really hearing about. And then you heard about the Switch coming in with their new console, and that's the big talk right now. So it's like, I don't remember the last time I heard of Sony being in the gaming environment right now, like out loud. They're laying a little low in this whole thing. But like I'm saying, well, the point I'm trying to make is, I personally think Xbox is trying to do something with their next console. I think they're trying to set up something because it almost seems too weird of a situation for them to have all these titles like a Bard's Tale, Outer Worlds, like I mean they own it, like they do all these things, but they could do more with it instead of just releasing other consoles. Quake, Starfield, Bethesda titles, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, Warcraft, Starcraft. Hey, yeah, I could go on. They own all these things. They own them. It's not like and yeah, they're releasing for other companies, but they
well,
they have full rights to do stuff with them, not
yeah,
just re-release them. You know what I'm saying?
but I think to jump in there, I think so. My theory, and this has no evidence, but I think this is a very well
Yeah,
thought
there's no
out
backing
theory.
on them doing something for next
Yeah.
console, but it
No,
feels
but
like a
no,
step.
no.
That's all I'm saying.
What I'm about to say is like my big theory, and I think what happened was when they bought Bethesda, Starfield was supposed to come out on PlayStation, and I said, heck no, that's gonna be an Xbox exclusive, baby. And they released it on Xbox, and they stuck to their guns. That game is still not on anything other than PC. That game is not on PlayStation or anything. So, I think what happened is they stalled the Starfield numbers, and they just weren't Bethesda numbers. Right? They weren't numbers they were used to. They're like, huh, this isn't popping off like we wanted to. And Starfield was a big game. I remember when that game was announced. Like that was a big deal.
I still play it honestly.
But I
It's
think
just it's a never ending game.
and
It
I
is
heard
what
it.
it
I mean,
is.
I'm not saying about the quality of the game. I'm saying that the audience it reached wasn't enough for Xbox or Bethesda standards. And I think they're using those numbers as a marketing tool of like, you know what? We need to release it in other places. And again, they're stuck in a rock and a hard place because, not every Xbox fan has Game Pass. Not every PC gamer has Game Pass. And now you have to persuade them to buy this $7 game if you don't want
Mhm.
them to get Game Pass. You know what I mean? Like you're stuck in a very awkward position where like the Game Pass players are enjoying Starfield. I've heard great things about Starfield. I heard people enjoy it and like, you know, again, I'm not talking about, the experience you're getting with Starfield, but that was marketed as a Game Pass game. And yes, you can buy it on Steam for $70. Yes, you can buy it on the Xbox Marketplace for $70. But I think they're looking at the numbers and they're telling themselves no one's doing that. And let me ask you, would you have paid $70 for Starfield if it wasn't on Game Pass?
That's a rude question to ask me because I would have asked you the same thing. Would you have bought Banjo if it was only on the Switch? Would you have bought it on Xbox so they released it for Xbox
I
as
did.
well?
And I
But it's
did.
like your yes, your answer is
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying the answer's gonna. I'm a Bethesda fan, but if you want me to look at this objectively, I think in the case of Starfield, I think I would have only because Skyrim preceded it. That's the
Yes.
only reason I probably would have bought it. And that's
And
being honest. I'm an honest person.
and that's what and that's what I'm saying. Like that is the persuasion of like, you seem like you're thinking about it. Like, yeah, I think I will. And, I think that's the issue. Like people kind of, they kind of think about it. They kind of like, and they gloss over it. And I think Starfield just didn't hit those numbers. So I think they're using that data like, all right, maybe we should just release, them and them. Because we talked about this years ago when this Activision thing was kind of like in the news headlines every day. Like if I was and obviously I'm not in charge of a big company like this, so this might have just blew up my company and made me go bankrupt. But if I was Xbox, I would buy all these companies and say, if you want to play these games, they're only on Xbox. No excuses. Yes, we're gonna lose money, but eventually people are gonna come over because they have to. If you want to play Call of Duty, you act like Max isn't gonna go buy an Xbox to play Call of Duty if that's the only place to play Call of Duty.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. I like that. I like your stance because as a corporate guy, as a guy who wants to see a company succeed, as a guy who, you know, I kind of backtrack here. Xbox has had the biggest downfall in recent gaming history. Sony has not. I don't care what you say about the Wii U. Nintendo has not had that. They just have not had that. Nintendo didn't take the big loss on Wii U because they had things. They had their DSs, they had their regular Wii, they had a Switch in progress, and it's like there's no loss on that. Xbox had a loss. Like they took the L. Like there's, you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna talk about a dip in gaming community, you're always going to think the Xbox One. That's just what you're going to go to, because that's what it is. Um, but kind of backtracking on that, I like that you're trying to see a company succeed because you want Nintendo to do the things they should do because you want them to. You want, if anything, you want Nintendo to have those acquisitions that Xbox had because Nintendo might use it. They wouldn't get it without doing something with it. And you
Mm-hmm.
know that, and I know that. Nintendo has never got something and not done something with it. And same thing with Sony. Sony's not going to let something sit idle. They don't like still water. They're going to do something about it. But like you said, it's a rock and a hard place for Xbox, for Microsoft. But I think Xbox tried that so hard with the Xbox One. I think they put their eggs in the all one basket with that multimedia console that they learned this time that maybe yes, it's about profit, but I think the Xbox community wants to do something more about gaming because that's what the original Xbox did. The first Xbox, they catered it to gamers. It was all gamers. Like you couldn't play Blu-rays on that thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The PS2 had the capability of playing movies on it. it and yeah, it's the best-selling console, but if you're thinking back to that generation, Xbox did so well because that was the first console. They went up against the Titan PS2. The Titan. They should have lost. They should have died. Nintendo was already a household name. They didn't need to worry about that stuff. The game. If you're talking about the GameCube and the PS2, I'll bet you 9 times out of 10, someone had a PS2 over the GameCube, or at least if they did, they had two more PS2s over the GameCube. It's because it's think you have to
Guess who
fathom
had none?
the six.
For some reason, I
You
don't
have
know
to
why.
fathom. I had the slim. I had the. I don't know. I had the
Literally,
blue one. I
all my
had all
friends
of
had
them.
like 5 in their household. I don't know
Yeah,
why. We just never
it's
got
just
one. We just never got one.
they were so easy. I had one in my car growing up.
Yeah, I have a
That's how
PS1, I have a
that's how many we
PS3,
had.
PS4, PS5. PS2 is the only one I don't own, and it's the best selling console of all time. Don't ask me why. I don't know.
So what ended? But you have to think of it in that perspective. Xbox did something so new that as a just starting out company, they survived. Like not even survived, they thrived. That led to Xbox 360 sales more than anybody could ever think. Like that's such an accomplishment to have done. PlayStation had their prerequisite. They had a PlayStation 1 which did amazing against the Dreamcast and everything.
Oh,
And
PS1
then
also wiped that generation too.
you have to think about Xbox coming in as a new name brand thinking they can overtake the PS2. The fact that they even tried is amazing. So I think they're thinking that way. Because at the end of the day, they succeeded with the Xbox, but they could have easily taken a loss on that. Easily. Not like if they didn't do the things they needed to do and that console even a little bit flopped.
And see, I wanna kind of touch base on that because Xbox and the GameCube to the same extent, these are financially speaking, these are failures. These are failures of a console. Like there's no
That's
way.
what I'm saying.
But they're not looked at as failures.
No, they're
And I
pioneers.
and
If
I
anything,
think
we revere them.
And I think that's the important part where I think Xbox is missing the mark. You can be a failure, but still make a mark in the industry. Xbox, even though it didn't sell crazy, had Halo. It had online. These are new things to the market. GameCube, failure, but it had those sweet first party games that people just slobber over nowadays. Mario Kart, Double Dash, Super Smash Bros.
Well,
Melee.
I think the GameCube where they succeeded was the rendering of games you've always wanted to see as a good visual game.
And that's I
I
mean,
think that's where they
what I'm trying to
seeing
say like
Mario
that's
Sunshine, X
yeah.
Pokemon in that view.
Uh-oh, you're muted. Wait, stop talking. You're muted. You're muted. But with the power of editing, you guys saw nothing.
Right.
Um, anyways,
He had half no time to pass. No, but I just want to finish on the point that seeing that GameCube, the games that I grew up, I wasn't a Nintendo fan. I wasn't the biggest Nintendo fan at the very least, but a Pokemon fan, I was one. I was the. But growing up and then seeing Pokemon XD and knowing the things that could be possible after they released the GameCube was amazing to a young gamer like me. Like that was because to put it into perspective, you look at these Xbox, the original console, and the PlayStation 2. These are titles that are new. They're not re-renders of old games. They're not your classic name of look at that
Sorry.
focus. The they're not the classic. They're not from old games once upon a time. But you got the GameCube. You're getting 3D great renders of Zelda, of Pokemon, of Mario, games that you already knew existed that you're like, wow, they can. Not only did these new games release and they're amazing and they look great and I love to play them, but they can bring my old games and make it look the same way.
Yeah.
Like that was, come on, Randy, that was
And
amazing.
that's what I'm saying. The point I'm trying to make across is, these consoles are, financial failures, but they're looked highly upon because they brought the goods. Even the Wii U, like, we can talk smack about the Wii U all day, but they had great games, so great that they're on Switch they're selling way better. Like, these are, and people are like, wow, this is such a good, like, yeah, it was a Wii U game. And,
I'm telling you, sometimes it's just about the console.
and exactly,
Sometimes
but
it's just about the console.
the Xbox, I think, right now doesn't have that sauce. It doesn't have the, like, well, we're losing, but damn, we have this game right here. And I think they really wanted Starfield to be that game, but I don't think critically or financially it was that. And I can't even think of Xbox One having that game. Like, they're making these consoles, and again, you can be third place. Third place is not a bad thing as long as you're enjoying the console. But I think my problem with it is I just haven't enjoyed a console from Xbox since the 360. I bought the one, and I bought the one for Rare Replay because I love Rare, and Rare Replay was that fantastic game, and great game, and that probably is the sauce of what that console brought for me. But after that, like nothing really piqued my interest, minus a few. And then I bought the Series X, and I have not touched that thing. I reorganized my room earlier last year, and a few months ago, it's when we were playing our Minecraft world, and we were trying to find our old worlds. I'm trying to figure out, what console it's on. And I used to
you
play
were going.
yeah.
I remember that.
And
You
that
were trying
even
to go find the things.
exactly, and I didn't even realize my Xbox hasn't even been plugged in for the whole 7 months that my room has been organized, and that really made me think damn, I really just haven't attempted to play this thing. And what really spiked this conversation for me, was a few weeks ago, the new Indiana Jones came out, and a few weeks before that, the new Call of Duty came out, and this was the first year Call of Duty came out on Game Pass, which was a big deal. So I decided I'm gonna buy Game Pass for November and December. Gonna play Call of Duty in November. Gonna play Indiana Jones in December.
Indiana.
And it'd be a good deal for me. What normally would cost me like $140, it's gonna cost me I think $40 because it's like $20 a month now, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a good deal. Basically, 2 for the price of 1, but even cheaper than that. So I played Call of Duty, had a blast with it. Kind of fell off. I was really riding that Call of Duty's this is the best game ever, and then I had the biggest fall off ever. I'm like, whatever. But Call of Duty came out, whatever, and then Indiana Jones came out, and
to be fair, it wasn't one of the best Call of Duty.
I had a blast with it, but yeah, there's something. The minute I was playing every night,
something felt different.
Yeah, I was playing every night with the boys, and then that one night I missed, I just never played again. I'm like, well, whatever.
Yeah,
that's a topic for another day. But Indiana Jones night came out. I was excited for it. And the first night that came out, they shadow dropped Roller Coaster Tycoon on Switch, and I immediately just dropped Indiana Jones plans and played Roller Coaster Tycoon. Now, I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. I have a bias towards it, but that was how I just ditched it so easily. I know that sounds weird to say, but Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones, and I'm so excited for it. But it being on Xbox, me having to play my Xbox, always kind of like, well, I mean, I'll play it because I like Indiana Jones, but we'll see. A few days later, Indiana Jones came out. Well, it was already out, but I downloaded it. Me and my sister, she loves Indiana Jones, so she was gonna watch me play, and I played for like 3-4 hours, and it just wasn't clicking. I'm like, maybe I just don't like the game. Maybe, I have my problems with it being in first person. Like, there's a bunch of issues I have. Like maybe this game just isn't for me. I'll play it again someday, but like I don't want to play it. And then my cousin Edwin, guy on the podcast, Edwin started playing it, and I was watching him play. I'm like, dude, this game looks really fun. But he was playing on I was just watching him play on PC. I'm like, but this game looks legit. And then I kind of thought, I'm like, do I hate this game because I played on Xbox? And then they announced it coming to PlayStation, and my interest for this game skyrocketed up. I'm like, well, I could play it on PlayStation. I'm like, that seems like a good PlayStation game. But
then you'd have to buy it.
And then I have to buy it. Exactly. But that's my problem. Like, I'm willing to pay the $70 if I don't have to touch my Xbox. And then, looking back, like kind of taking a step back, I'm like, okay, clearly I just
to be fair, you could just get it on PC, which you could.
I could, but I'm not a PC gamer. I hate playing games at my desk, if I'm being honest. That's why I don't like to stream as much because I hate sitting at my desk.
And I think that's where your disconnect is. I think you have your preference for PlayStation.
Exactly.
I think that's mostly what it is, because you're not the common player. I'm gonna be honest with you, Randy, because you're a Switch advocate, and the only people that necessarily are Switch advocates are people who grew up with those kind of games, like Mario, Spyro, Bandicoot kind of games, which is a good majority of people. They like those like quick games you can pick up, do something fun, drop it. I'm not saying they're not serious gamers, because you're a serious gamer, and I know you. But those kind of games don't require too much out of you. They're supposed to be like these quick little things you can do, and then you can come back to it at another time. But I think the big thing of all of this is I think PC's just taken over everything at the end of the day, which I hate to say, and I hate that because you can just do the things you can do anywhere else on PC. And I think all the consoles are really trying to catch up with that. And it's like, because you could say the same thing with PlayStation. A lot of people, if they bought the PlayStation, they're playing the PlayStation. But if they don't need to, they're not going to. You know, because I see Max and Nick on other consoles and are we on PC when I know damn well they could be playing on their consoles.
Yeah.
But it's like I think we're just going towards this mode of consoles where they're going to be PC integrated. I, I'm not stupid. I know how consoles work. I know they have the basic same components as a PC, but I think they're really going to market it as a PC coming out. I think these next few consoles that are going to come out are going to be more PC oriented. Like what the way they're going to reach out to people. Like before you, us as gamers seeing new consoles come out, we see graphics cards, we see those things, but I think that's going to be more face value now. I think that's what they're going to do, and I think the UIs for consoles are going to change. I think they're just going to be, a lot more, modifiable. I think that's what's going to happen at the end of the day.
And yeah, and I kind of agree to an extent, but I also think that I think the chase for PC has been pretty obvious for PlayStation and Xbox this generation and the last generation. Where
Oh
I think,
yeah, it's
but
heavy.
I think they're realizing that they just they just can't because PC is just ever
You just can't.
evolving,
There's nothing you can do.
and I think because you're
You
gonna
can't have it simple. You can't have it simple and have a PC at the same time. Like there's not the two just don't coincide. They're not cohesive. You're right. You're 100% right.
and I think PlayStation. This is just a total shot in the dark, but I think PlayStation's gonna kind of double down on a market where like you know what, this is just our console. Kind of like how Nintendo goes. Nintendo doesn't go gloating about their specs, and for the longest time, people gave them like they didn't like that they didn't do that. They hate that the Switch is underpowered, and I too hate the Switch is underpowered. But it clearly works. It clearly clicks with people, and it clearly, is profitable for not only them, but it's also very affordable for like the everyday family. And I think that's a
Yeah.
market that they want. And I think again, PlayStation and Xbox are definitely taking notes again at Nintendo, kind of doing their own thing and like should we be and the PlayStation 5 is doing well, but it's not doing crazy well. You know what I mean? Like it's doing
I
well
think
enough,
I
but
think
it's
hardware wise, I think in sales and in advertisement, I think the PlayStation I don't think I know the PlayStation overtook the Xbox. I know that's a thing. I'm not debating that one bit, but I think as far as longevity and as far as hardware goes, I think the PlayStation fell short a little bit. Like they don't have the same capacity power as the Xbox, and the PlayStations were going out left and right like 2 years ago.
yeah.
I think
I don't think I
where it comes
actually
to
what's
that.
funny? I actually even disagree with that. Yes, they were going left and right, but that was more for like that wasn't gamers trying to get a PlayStation. That was meme culture. It was a meme to try to
Oh no,
find
I meant like
PlayStations.
they were breaking down is what I'm
Oh,
saying.
oh.
A lot of places were overheating. There's a lot of component issues. I know a few people who had to send their PlayStation back or find an alternative to fix it. Um, whereas you don't really hear anything like with that with the Xbox. I think that can attest to the red ring of death. Sure, probably at the end of the day. Um, the Xbox didn't want to overdo their console without knowing what they can do. But I mean, Xbox, I think at the end of the day performs better than the PlayStation, but numbers don't lie. PlayStation still won that battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show. I mean, all this rambling we're doing, I just think it comes down to games, and I know that's the most cliche thing to say, but when I look at Xbox, I do not. I see them as more of a rich company that just bought a bunch of game franchises that they're just kind of sitting on and now distributing at their own pace to Game Pass, to other consoles, and I think that's where my big gripe comes with Xbox. And we were talking about preferences of just like, back in the 360 days, I didn't mind playing games on the Xbox. In fact, I quite enjoyed it. But nowadays, there's this kind of ick that comes with it that I just don't want to play it. I don't like how it feels. I don't like how. I just don't like it. And for the longest time, I've been trying to figure out why. And I think it's just a a collection of things that just kind of just make me just not really want to associate with the company. And not I mean, the company isn't bad. I'm not saying the company does like horrendous things behind the scenes. I just think the company is going in a direction that I'm just not interested in, and that's okay. Um, I think the big problem is it just seems like there's no sense of direction at at the headquarters. It just seems like I don't think they know what they're doing, and every time I think they know, they just kind of prove me wrong, and like, you know, battery check. Well, Hector fixes that.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know what's going on with this thing. It's
yeah,
crazy.
but at the end of the day, like, I just hope Xbox kind of pieces it together, and I just kind of going back to what we started talking about like 20 minutes ago. Like, I just wish Xbox kind of became, for the longest time, me and Hector have called Xbox like the friendly. Well, I don't want to say loser, but the friendly third place guy. Like, they've been doing nice things, and sometimes it feels genuine, and sometimes it feels like, well, they have to do that because they need, public approval, backup, and stuff. But I wish they just got stern. They own such big franchises, and I wish they just kind of like, you know, because it would be more interesting, for sure. Again, Nintendo's doing their own thing, and I feel like Nintendo can thrive with their games. But if they really wanted to make a dent in PlayStation and kind of shifted, people over, like, they totally can. They totally have a loaded gun at PlayStation's forehead if they really wanted to shoot, but they just don't, and I don't understand why. Yes, it's a risk, but at this point, you need to
No,
take
no,
the
no. I
risk.
think it's opposite of risk. I think it's opposite of that. I think they got such a bad taste with the Xbox One, and they saw what happened with the
Four?
PlayStation 3, that because, well, with PlayStation 3 they did the multimedia thing too, and then Xbox
Yeah.
One tried to follow suit, and both of those things were not the thing to do. I think they were stern in that sense. Like they were. If you were in that Xbox One era, PlayStation 3 era, you know for a fact that they
But
doubled down on
but
that
it's different
that
now.
stuff.
They own games. They own companies. They own these games that are complete, and they're releasing on multi-platform. Like, kind of backtracking it. Imagine, I know people would be mad, but imagine they just straight up said Call of Duty's only on Xbox this year. People would be furious, but don't tell me people wouldn't be furious walking to Walmart and buying an Xbox. Like, it would,
Yeah,
yes, Call of Duty sales would probably be low, and they probably will be low for the next few years. But you got to build up that market again. You got to build up that capital of this, like, we got to win these people back, because now PlayStation can't play the biggest game of the year every year. Xbox can, but again, they're being nice and letting Xbox games being released on these platforms,
PlayStation. Yeah.
which I appreciate, but I'm not the one that should be appreciating it, because I'm the one they should be winning back. What if the next Overwatch, whatever, Overwatch 3, whatever, only on Xbox? What if the next, what else do they own? Fallout. What if the next
Well, you're talking
Elder
about what they
Scrolls?
should do. What I'm trying to explain to you is what they are doing is what I'm trying to like. I don't think it's right. At the end of the day, I don't think it's right. Anyways, I think they definitely should. Uh, if they were diehard, solidarity, that'd be freaking great. Um, but honestly, growing up as an Xbox player, that's never what it was about. If you grew up in the Xbox One and Xbox 360 era, it was more about being inclusive. You wanted your PlayStation friends to jump on Xbox, not solely because you wanted to move to Xbox, because there was an ability to play with us. If you did crossplay then, it would be great. People would have wanted that. Xbox was an open company then. They totally were. They didn't try to hold on to things. They just had things. Remember, they were a new company. Xbox 360 was their second console. PlayStation was already on their third console, and not only that, Nintendo was on God knows how many consoles. So their 360 was going to have their titles. That's because they're new. PlayStation at the times, if you grew up, PlayStation didn't want those titles. PlayStation didn't want Halo. PlayStation didn't want Gears of War. A few of those companies went to those companies and they got denied. They didn't get released on Sony because Sony didn't want to take the chance with Gears of War and their Unreal. They didn't want to use Unreal Engine. They didn't care about Unreal Engine. Sony was a Japanese company. They didn't want to take chances with that. Xbox was so inclusive back then that they did the same thing. They acquired the companies nobody wanted. And I think when they did when I know this, when they went to the Xbox One, they thought PlayStation 3 was so bad because they did media, but we can do it better. That's what we're going to do. We're going to stick to our guns. And they stuck to their guns so hard, and they're like, you know what? This is our third console. We're not going to share any games with anybody. We're keeping our titles at the third on the third basis. At that point, uh, PlayStation was sharing their titles with like all kinds of other games. You know, like uh, I'm not saying particular games, but they were sharing Star Wars with Soul Calibur, and they were the ones doing the mashups. They were the ones doing the cool stuff. They were like, okay, let's do all that with PlayStation 3 era, but that console didn't work as well. So because Microsoft stuck to their guns, or Xbox stuck to their guns so hard with Xbox One and wanted to be a media console, they were like, you know what? I'm not saying this is right, but they're just like, you know what? We're just gonna go back to the being the loving. We're gonna buy indie. We're gonna support indie games. We're gonna get the titles nobody's ever heard of, nobody wants. We're gonna try to do that. And one, I think they did it wrong. They shouldn't have acquired those companies. One, they should have done a grants, or they should have promoted those companies, or they should have worked with those companies. Acquiring them to me wasn't the best idea. At least not all of them. Like acquiring Blizzard and all them, and I don't think they needed to do that. I think working with them would have been perfectly fine, um, because of the route they were taking. They're taking this route where they want to share games and they want to be more gamer available to everybody. And I think they did it in the wrong fashion. I think they should have just put money into those games, those companies, and they should have helped them, um, rather than acquiring them. Now that they did acquire them, I definitely think they should have done what you said, and they should have just single titled them. Like they should have just been primary titles on Xbox. So I just think they did it the wrong way, and I think the path they're taking is a little astray, and it's not looking good for them. But this next console might change everything. You know, I don't know. Who knows? You never know what could happen.
Well, Xbox, good for you. I have a solution. I'm gonna give it to you for free. All
All
you gotta
right,
do,
guys, get ready.
all you
I need
gotta
a
do,
button for this. We need a button for this. Like it needs to be like feathers and like something coming down.
all you gotta do is make Banjo 3, baby, and your console's saved.
Here we go.
Put them
Just
on
puzzle
all
pieces fall from the screen.
puzzle pieces. Banjo 3 will sell literally 15 million copies the first day, and will save your company from ever going
Just to
bankrupt.
Randy.
Just
Just
to
to
me.
Randy.
That's not even counting the other 6 fans in the world. 15 million from me. The other 6, I promise. Banjo 3. Just make it happen. Put it on Game Pass. I don't care.
And it's kind of a question I wanted to ask you. What do you feel about the path that Nintendo's taking with? Well, they're just staying with what they have, which is good because it works. Why fix something if it ain't broke? You know what I mean? Um, would you like to see that kind of stuff more on Xbox? I mean, or on PlayStation or Xbox, like platformers and top downs and something
Oh
like
yeah. So
simple.
my big thing with Xbox and PlayStation, this is a PlayStation problem too, is they go for these big ambitious games. And I'm not gonna lie, I appreciate the big ambitious games. I love me a good Uncharted, a good Last of Us, a good Ghost of Tsushima. These games are great, but they also take years and years and millions of dollars to make. And you need something to fill that
Avatar.
void. Yeah. And even a game like Astrobot. Like Astrobot, I loved last year. That was a platformer's dream. But it still took years, and it still took lots of money. Now, I'm not saying dumb it down. Obviously, I want these games to look as good as possible.
Yeah.
But you need to start dispersing smaller teams to make smaller things to fill in those voids. PlayStation has had this very big drought. They released one game last year, and we don't even know if they're going to release a first-party game this year. I think, the Ghost of Tsushima sequel comes out this year, but that's my thing. Nintendo has their big games, their big Pokemon game, their big Mario, their big Zelda, but then they have a bunch of smaller games in between. But it satisfies fans. it holds us over till the next big one. I'm here waiting for the Switch 2, but they just remastered Donkey Kong. They just released a Mario and Luigi. They did Paper Mario last year. They did, a new Zelda game last year. Like, these smaller games are filling my appetite until the next big thing. And I think Xbox and PlayStation don't do that. They just release their big titles and not enough smaller stuff. And people do appreciate smaller things. People appreciate a nice, good $15 small game. Like, people don't need $70 on 100-hour games. And even watching the state of play today, there was a PlayStation conference today, and you're looking at these games, and most of them are third party. But even the first party game, you just start getting in the realm of like, man, all this looks the same. Like, the same art style, same. Like,
a point you're making that's a great point? Replayability. I think nobody's focusing on replayability anymore, especially Xbox. Oh my God, Xbox. I don't know if they lost a plot when it comes to replayability. I will guarantee you, I think it's Skyrim. I blame Skyrim. Honestly, as much as I love that damn game, I blame it because I'm not playing Starfield twice. I haven't even finished playing it once.
yeah.
There is zero chance I'm touching that game again. Because if I'm done with that game, I'm done with that game. Whereas Skyrim has something else to it, like a je ne sais quoi, you know what I mean? Like, it had something to it where you could keep playing it and play it again, and then play it again, and then play it again. They don't do that with Xbox games anymore. I play Call of Duty campaign. I'm like, okay, cool, got it over with. Let's do something else now.
Yeah.
And I'm not touching that campaign again, Randy. There's no way. And PlayStation used to be the best at that. They're not the worst at it anymore, but they used to be the best.
Well, I think
God of War. I used to play
yeah.
that thing day in, day out.
Games are just bigger now, and that's not a problem. Like, I love
But
a
it's
a perfect example is Zelda, because the newer Zelda games are 150-hour games where, like, you love it and you experience it. But I've only played Breath of the Wild once, and I've only played Tears of the Kingdom once, and I don't plan on playing them anytime soon. That's just how those games are designed. That's okay. If you look at older Zelda games, those are much smaller games. Yes, they're like 20, 30 hours, but those are games I do want to replay again, and I constantly do throughout the years, where I play Ocarina of Time like once a year. I play Majora's Mask like every other month, it seems like. Like, these are games, but they're smaller doses, and they have higher replayability. That being said, I don't hate Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I think those games should be around, and then you make games, smaller games, that you do want to replay every few years, And I think you have to find that balance, and I just don't think PlayStation has found that balance. Astrobot's close. I can see myself playing Astrobot again, maybe next year. Don't forget Xbox. I'm not replaying any of that. Banjo, I guess, but Banjo's on Switch now, so I'm never touching my Xbox again. And
I think a good one with that one is who won Game of the Year this past year, 24? Was it Final Fantasy?
Astrobot, baby. Which shows there's a market for it. Xbox, you can Banjo 3 Game of the Year.
They made Breath of the Wild, not they made Breath of the Wild, but they made those games because they knew it was going to be a selling point as far as like how beautiful those games are going to be and how many awards those games are going to get. And then they nailed it. They hit the spot with that game, you know what I mean? But it's like people say day in, day out, well, they'll just add DLC to those games you can't replay. Sure, they can, but wouldn't it be smarter to put DLCs on games you play constantly and replay again and again? A DLC for that would do so much more than a game you can't. Like look at Fallout, for instance. We had a whole debate at which DLC was best because we played those DLCs like 30 times. Those DLCs, that game was in a scope where you can keep playing that game. I know you weren't the biggest Fallout fan, but everybody in that Discord was going
I'm not
crazy.
gonna lie. I'm not a big DLC guy. So.
Yeah. But hey, it sells. It works at the end of the day.
Does.
I buy DLC for games that are like 30 years old still.
Yeah, no, well, I know people. I know
like
people
about
like
20
it,
years old.
I just think DLC, like, just put in the game. Why do I have to pay for that? Or make it free updates. Splatoon 3.
I think it's later development stuff. I think it's stuff that's like
but Splatoon,
3 years, 4 years after.
Splatoon's a good example.
You're used to now DLC. Now DLC releases like fucking 2 weeks after they release the game.
Well, no, I'm saying like something like Splatoon or Mario Maker. Like, those games have DLC, but it's free, and I don't have to pay for that because I already paid for the game.
Yeah, I
And
get
see,
that.
that's a
Yeah, that
trust.
makes
I
sense.
mean, and this could be a topic for another day. But that's a
But that's a
trust in
map
your
thing.
market.
I think that's more of like a map DLC. I think the specificity of a DLC is like
No. This
storyline.
is
I
story.
think
This is straight up stories and new mechanics and new items and new And I'm not gonna compare it to like obviously just bigger deal like the Elden Ring DLC that came out last year. Like nothing in
but
Splatoon
that's
came
like a
to
whole
that scale.
campaign
I
forward.
know.
You
But
know what I
like
mean?
that's where I kind of the line gets a little bit sketchy for
That's what I
me.
was
But
saying.
yeah,
All the Fallout DLCs are strictly just huge campaign jumps. That's all they are.
okay, yeah,
And those are great. I think those are amazing. But do it for games that you're going to replay. Like, if they release a DLC for Breath of the Wild, you're obviously gonna get it
they did.
because it's a DLC for it. Yeah, you see what I mean? Like a whole campaign jump forward, you would totally do it. Um, but they should have done it for a game that they would benefit more if they did it from a game that you constantly replay.
Yeah,
It's a moot point at that point. But all I'm saying is Xbox is good at that, but then they don't create the game that they needed to create.
but
And then
okay,
PlayStation.
let me ask you this, like, because I'm trying to think of one non-company buyout, like an Xbox Studios game. What game have they released in the last 5 years that made a splash? I can't even think of a game they've released. Like, oh yeah, Starfield doesn't count because that game was already almost done, and they just happened to buy it and they claimed it theirs. You know what I mean? Like, what's an Xbox game? Because that's my problem with Xbox. What are they making? What are they
Like their
doing?
initial, like they. I mean,
Halo was
without
Halo
like
Infinite the
comparing
last
like
one?
Outer Worlds and Grounded,
But those aren't
but
make
without
those
talking,
are
without
yeah.
talking about Halo Infinite,
But Halo
yeah,
Infinite's an
without talking about
Xbox
that
game.
stuff,
That's an Xbox game.
like nothing crazy because they have like Doom and stuff, which they did some stuff with, some Fallout stuff they did, but nothing like crazy. Oh, actually, no, that would be
but
Acquisition.
all that stuff was already in development. I'm saying like something that happened under Xbox, only under Xbox, and then they release. Because they keep telling me Xbox is making games. I'm like, really? It sounds like you're just buying games. Like, yep, see, we've been working on Starfield. Like, brother, that game's been in
In
development for
development.
7 years. It's like someone does their homework and you just buy it off them. Like, see, I'm like, well, I guess it's your homework, but
Yeah, no, I
and
get
that's
that.
my problem with Xbox. Like, what are they doing behind scenes?
Yeah,
What?
it's mostly Halo, and they're trying to put money into that whole Overwatch thing. They're just putting money
Yeah,
into it. That's all they're doing right now. And then I think that's where it comes into the thing where they're going to have to do something in the next console. The next console is just going to be where they're going to have to get a footing on, and and I think if I'm going to be honest, Xbox got lucky, man. Xbox got really lucky with nobody doing anything because
yeah,
they could have easily just got flat-footed and get knocked back by Sony doing something crazy or even Nintendo doing something crazy. You know what I mean? Like re-releasing a strictly stationary console or see like a high power. They could have done a lot of things, and I think Xbox lucked out that nobody did. I think that's
no,
like the takeaway from this. So it's like, but I definitely don't think in the next 5 to 10 years, I don't think we're going to be looking back at this and saying, "Oh, this is a loss on Xbox's thing." I don't think we're going to be saying it in the terms of the way the Xbox One did. I just don't think they're going to be comparable. I think maybe we're going to be talking about it like the way we talk about Wii U, which is like meh, like yeah, they kind of messed up there, but I think it's
yeah.
going to get wiped out by something.
So,
Well,
do you think so? Bigger picture. What do you think? What do you see Xbox in 5 years? Do
I
you think there's
definitely
going to be a
think
new console? Do you think that they're doubling down on Game Pass? Do you think that they're saying screw it? Well, let me ask you this: do you
no.
believe the rumors of Halo coming? Because I feel like Halo is the big. That is the face of Xbox. No matter how you slice it, like
Yeah.
Xbox is or Halo is a franchise like my parents know, and I always use them as the baseline. Like, they're not in the know of games, but they're around people who play games, so like they know who Halo
Yeah.
is. They know who I don't know who Master Chief is, but they know who Halo is, or what Halo is, and all that. Do you think Halo has a chance of coming to PlayStation and I guess Switch 2 at this point? Switch 2.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen on Switch 2, but it definitely
You don't think it's gonna happen on
it's
Switch? You
not
think it's PlayStation now?
no, it's definitely not gonna happen on Switch. Infinite requires so if you played Infinite long enough, that thing
No,
requires so much.
the rumor is Master Chief Collection.
Oh, Master Chief Collection, like strictly campaign.
Well, I'm assuming that it's gonna be the multiplayer. That'd be weird. If it's the multiplayer.
Multiplayer might not operate just because once you get to reach and above, there's mechanics in there that kind of might overclock the Switch. But I guess you'll cross that road when it comes. But I still don't think they're gonna do
This is
it.
Switch 2
Um,
though.
yeah, that's nice.
No, I'm just saying the specs have already been
that's
leaked.
pretty.
Like it's a PS4. So, and Master Chief was an Xbox One game.
What are you talking about? Master Chief was an Xbox One game. What do you
Master
mean?
Chief Collection.
Oh, the whole collection.
Yeah, I'm saying
Yeah,
that
but
game
Guardians,
is being.
which is the game right after Reach, it wasn't left on it. So it's like I think maybe they'll do it, but no, I still don't think they're gonna do it at the end of the day because I don't think
Interesting.
it translates well to it. But I definitely think it's a possibility for PlayStation. I'm still gonna say no.
Can't wait to call you up the
It's
day it announced their Switch 2. I'm like, guess who's playing it on Switch 2?
yeah, the day Banjo Kazooie comes out, yeah. So I just don't see it coming to Switch as much as I see it coming to PlayStation. I definitely think they have the upper hand. If it's going to come to a console, it's going to be there. But I still slim to none on that one. I definitely think Xbox is trying to lean into the share games and make everybody available to play. But I don't think they're going to go that far with it. They are definitely going to have to.
If they put it on PlayStation, why not put it on Switch?
Uh,
You're thinking about how it's going to run. We don't think about how it's going to run. That clearly doesn't matter to Switch players. We have Witcher 3 on it. I'm just talking about them putting it on it. We could talk about specs another day, but like the
way I see it is when they released Call of Duty for the DS.
Call of Duty is coming to Switch 2 this year.
That shit was horrible.
We're thinking about specs.
No, I know.
Those specs out the window. I'm saying the idea. If Xbox wanted to release Halo, do you think they would want to put it on Switch 2 and PlayStation? No, I don't care I don't care if it runs at 10 FPS. I'm saying because if it runs at 10 FPS, it's still gonna sell. People don't care. People who play on Switch clearly don't. I play Pokemon on Switch at 10 FPS. Like I don't care. I just want to play the game. People don't.
I would.
And you know what I mean?
wouldn't bet on it. Is all I'm saying.
Little Johnny, who only owns a Switch, has never played a Halo game in his life. You bet his butt he's gonna buy the Halo Master Chief Collection on Switch. Oh, but it runs at 20. Who cares? He's not gonna care.
Is Fallout on Switch?
Fallout's not on Switch. But
Skyrim is, but I don't think Fallout is.
Doom's on Switch.
Yeah,
Doom Eternal's on Switch. Like these games run. They run fine.
Yeah.
Harry Potter, Witcher 3.
I don't know. I played Skyrim on Switch. They didn't run fine. That did not run fine.
I disagree. I think Skyrim runs great. That was the first game I bought on Switch.
That was Are you kidding me? If you played Skyrim versus that, there's no way you thought that. There's zero way. The render was like 10 feet. I'm just taking out that topic.
It's a handheld.
That's crazy. That's like when people tell me when you go to San Francisco, lock your car. Like that shouldn't be a normal thing. That shouldn't be a thing you want.
I think
that should not be. That should not be basis.
I think Skyrim ran well enough. That's why it was in the launch trailer. If I think they didn't think it would run well, they wouldn't have put it in the launch trailer.
Like I don't even play Minecraft on my Switch anymore because I tried for a little bit because it's portable and it's nice, but it's
Minecraft.
At that point, I was just
smooth on Switch now. I don't know if they updated it, but like me and Nick actually prefer to play it on Switch. Something about how smooth it is. I think it's
I think it's the portability I like.
But the Switch 2, I'm not talking about the Switch. I'm talking the Switch 2 is already confirmed to be powerful. Like it's it's using modern tech. It's not.
I remember the same conversation when Switch came out though, and I mean I like the Switch and it sold really well. So yeah, there's obviously some truth to it there. But I think they might be overhyping it a little bit on that end.
I can't wait to prove.
But I think Switch 2 is going to be great. I think it's going to be great regardless because you're going to start seeing these beautiful, basic looking games, but in a beautiful light. Like you're going to see how well you can perform such a standard game. Like I think that's really you could argue that's what they did on Switch, but I think they're going to perfect it on the Switch too.
Yeah,
I definitely think this is what they needed.
The Switch was just, I believe, it was just the same internals as a Wii U, but in a Switch. So like, this is gonna be our first step up since 2013.
That's exactly what I'm saying. They're
actually.
Like,
that's why I think Halo is coming to Switch, too.
Nah, I just don't think it. It's just not. I don't think it's gonna happen. I would love for that to happen because that'd be really cool.
I would bet money I would bet money that if you release Halo on PlayStation and Switch 2, it would sell better on Switch 2. Even though it's a newer console, I think the hype behind Halo coming to Switch is a lot more active than PlayStation players who.
But you could say the same thing. That you could say the same thing if God of War released on Switch. It would do better on the Switch than it did on PlayStation, just because it's the ability to play it on Switch.
I would
That's
disagree with God of War.
strictly
'Cause
why.
I think Xbox. Well, I guess God of War's on PC.
No way.
I'm
God of
saying
War
like,
would be amazing on Switch. Are you kidding me right now? I would buy that without hesitation. Are you kidding me? Ask anybody,
yes.
they would buy that.
I'm just saying like I think there's a mark like people were.
There's a market for anything. It's just a risk they're willing to take for it. That's what it's gonna end up being. And I don't think Xbox is just in that position right now. I don't think they want to do that.
You don't think so?
With
With Sea of Thieves
no,
or Forza coming to PlayStation in a few weeks, I also think I'm gonna say right here, I think Forza's coming to Switch 2 as well. I just think they couldn't announce it because Nintendo's
yeah, no,
holding.
Forza definitely would. Forza definitely would.
You think
the
Forza can
parameters
run
are
on Switch, but not Halo?
The only reason I say that is because Forza doesn't run on a larger scale. Graphic wise, yes, but as far as like scale wise, not even close. They're close tracks, Randy. They're not like fucking super open world games.
Yeah, but it's loading things fast. Switch 2
I
might have
guess
trouble with, but
they're preloaded in, but yeah, sure, I guess.
I just feel like Forza's a more demanding game than a PS or a Xbox 360 game up-res and.
No. I'm not saying Xbox. I mean, Halo 1, 2, and 3 couldn't run on it. I just don't think that they would do it just to do it like that. One, those games, memory-wise, are ridiculous. What's the current memory on the Switch right now? They're running 1 terabyte, right? Total?
Yeah, right.
For those
The
micro
Switch?
SDs?
Oh, the micro SDs, yeah.
Master Chief Collection will kill that memory. It's ridiculous right now.
The way the Switch data is compressed is very impressive. So I'm sure Nintendo will help them with it because Zelda, the biggest game of all time Nintendo's ever made, is only 14 gigs. So,
Yeah,
how they do it,
I guess.
how they do it, I don't know. But Nintendo has some
easy.
type of magic.
The polygons in that aren't that crazy.
No, for sure. For sure. But even like the Switch 2's version of Halo is not going to look like the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation version. But I think it's going to look.
Tails in. I think definitely when Xbox has shared games with other consoles, they definitely didn't allow it to be. I'm not talking about previous Call of Duties because they did. If you ever played it on other consoles, they definitely rendered it down. But I think now that they acquired it, Xbox has not shared a game and wanted less support for it. Like when it comes to like Cyberpunk for instance, they didn't want to. I'm not saying that was their game, but I'm saying same thing's gonna apply. They're not gonna want to downscale their game just to play it on that console. They just let PlayStation burn to death before they allowed, or until they came out with a new console to actually support it. I think Xbox is the same kind of way. They're not going to want to render down a game just to kind of do it, even if it compresses it in a manner where it can fit on a console. I don't think they're going to want to do that either. I didn't really think about that point until you brought it up, but I don't think they're going to do either. If I'm going to be fair, I don't think they're going to do either PlayStation or Switch, with Halo specifically.
We shall see. I think Xbox is going
letting you guys know Randy falls for every rumor that's ever been out there.
That's
like you should see him on Pokemon rumors. Those things get him like crazy.
I don't do Nintendo rumors anymore. After the Grinch leak, I don't want to talk about it.
That was crazy. I remember hearing about that. Do you remember the Smash Brothers leaks, dude? Those things were funny.
That was the Grinch leak.
That was hilarious, dude.
Horrible times.
Oh,
I remember I have never been stressed out more in my life than the night before for a video game. Mostly because in that
thing was so
leak,
funny.
In the leak, basically the leak described that Banjo was going to be added to Smash. He wasn't yet, and it crushed my dreams. But yes, be careful what you read on the internet. But Halo, I think Halo, like yes, there's a lot of rumors behind it, but I just think it makes sense. Halo is not the franchise it used to be. It is a dying franchise that still has relevance from nostalgia and stuff, but like putting those old games on new consoles, giving it new life, it's a perfect market plan. Put the old games on, you skip 5 because no one likes 5 apparently. You put those older games on, people are like, wow, this Halo's really cool. This is awesome. And then like next year, 2 years from now, You put Infinite on PlayStation and Switch 2, and you make a bigger splash, and Infinite gets this, or whatever the new Halo. If they want to ditch Infinite and make a new, I know they're remaking or they're making a new Halo. I think they already announced that, but
Yeah. Bro,
like,
retouching on 5 real quick. Sorry, I'm not gonna let you dismiss 5 like that. The 5 story sucked ass, but the way it played was so good, Randy. Oh, like you've never. How
I
do?
played
But
5. I didn't mind it, but I know Halo
what's a good
fans.
comparison? Like, I don't know. It's like if they released Breath of the Wild and the story was just ass, and then but the gameplay was great. Like
That
the
is
gameplay
Breath
is
of the
exactly how it
Wild.
is now.
That is Breath of the Wild.
But so that's the thing with Guardians. It's like the game. The story was so butt. Like it was.
No one plays Breath of the Wild for this. The story doesn't even exist in Breath of the Wild. That's the whole gimmick.
Oh yeah, because the whole
Yeah,
thing reverted. But that's the thing
yeah.
with Guardians is like you play it and you're like, dang, I want to enjoy this game because I'm playing it and it's fun and it's like cool, shoot, like everything's working perfectly. And then you get to like a cutscene and you dread it. Like besides how good the cutscene looks, you're like, I don't care. Like this was
Yeah.
bad. Like it was bad. Um, but as far as that goes, yeah, no, I'm
It
gonna
just
say
makes
no on the
sense.
Switch.
I'm just saying it makes
Oh,
sense.
I think the timing. I think the timing's different too. I think we're so far along, and we're so almost to the next console that I don't think Xbox wants to do that at that turning point. At least, if they're going to do it, I don't think it's going to be soon. I think it's either going to be while. I mean, just look at their own console, Randy. They
Well,
didn't even do that for their own console. What I'm saying is, I don't
do
think they're
what?
going to. Xbox didn't even release titles when they released their console. What makes you think they're going to do that when every other company makes their own console?
Because
I think they're going to wait to see what happens.
the money's on the other consoles. We
And you
talked about
think
this
Xbox
last
has
time.
been making the money scales right now? Do you think their choices have been about that right now? I
Oh
don't
no,
think so. I just don't think.
I'm saying they. So everybody who owns an Xbox has access to Halo already. That's all fine and dandy, but they're not making any more money. If they can grab their games, they're already made, that are already optimized, throw them on another console. People are gonna either double dip or be new to the franchise. Plant that seed. Again, you got to look at it like little Johnny here's bought Halo, and then 3 years later, the new Halo, the new fancy looking Halo on Unreal Engine, whatever they're on now, like that's on the Xbox now, the new Xbox. Little Johnny might want to buy an Xbox. You know what I mean? You want to plant the seed. That's why I always thought they're gonna do with Banjo. Clearly they haven't, but Banjo's in Smash, cool. Hey, the old Banjos are on Switch, cool. Banjo 3 exclusive to Xbox. Well, damn, now I gotta buy it on Xbox. But you know what? That's a marketing strategy. It worked. You planted the seed. But and I think Halo's the perfect franchise to do that with. You want to plant the seed. You want to grab all these new fans. You want to grab the attention. You want to bring the center focal point, because the last taste of Halo we have in our mouth right now is Infinite, and I like Infinite. I'll die in that hill. I think Infinite's fine, but a lot of people don't like Infinite. You put that, Halo 1, 2, 3, the golden age for Halo, put it back in the limelight of like PlayStation and Switch players. So then when the next Halo comes in, they have momentum, because right now Halo doesn't have momentum. So for me, it just makes sense. Yeah, just put Halo back on the map, put Halo, in people's minds again. And people who switch over to PlayStation, like Nick, yes, he has a PC, but imagine a person who just switched over to PlayStation, but, skipped Xbox One, skipped Xbox Series X. Man, I miss Halo. Well, now you can play it on your PlayStation. And guess what? He's
And
probably going to buy it.
going back on your seed comment, it's you could even think of it adversely though. Like you can even say, well, why did the PS3 even compare to the Xbox 360? Because if you compare both those devices, Xbox 360 blows PS3 out of the water. The only reason it even did numbers with it, no, easily, Xbox 360 was almost a turn of the generation console. Are you kidding me?
And
It's like,
technically, PS3 outsold the Xbox 360.
but why? Let's think of why.
Well, the PS3 fumbled in the beginning. They get
What
that.
happened before the? No, I know why. I know why you're saying that. It's they sold because their PS2 was amazing, so people
No,
wanted the
no, yeah, oh
PS2.
no, yeah, no.
It's a
Well, no,
seed.
the PS3. Yo, yeah, but the PS3 sold horribly those first 2 years because they got cocky and like, you know what? You know, it'd be funny if we made our console at like $800, and the Xbox is like,
Well, what
why would you do
happened
that?
specifically though was Xbox released so far after PS2 that they did so well later on that people wanted to switch to 360 because they saw the Xbox was so great. But they also remember how well the PS2 sold, so that gave them the
Yeah.
sales that they needed. But we can argue the same thing here. I think the only reason Halo and Xbox is on a downtrodden. Honestly, I can tell you with all the grace in my heart, Xbox is and Halo is not on a downtrodden right now. They're actually on an uptick, relatively speaking. From Xbox One to Series X, Xbox One easily upturn.
When you're
It's
on the
not
bottom,
even.
you can only go up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
Exactly.
yeah. But
But
that's
the
what I'm
same thing with
saying.
Halo. But
Yeah.
no, they're not going to release those things on Halo because they want to. They're going to want to perfect Halo first. They're even doing it right now. Right now, they just switched to Halo. The company that's making
Yeah.
the new
Well,
Halo game is
they just
called Halo
renamed them.
Studios.
Yeah, they just renamed
Yeah,
them. But
but they want to do something different with Halo, and they want to perfect it before they do anything else. And you can see that because that's their baby. You can see how much
but
care
I
they're
feel like
trying
that
to
I
put
feel
into
like
it.
that adds more to my point. They want to double down on Halo, so putting Halo in more people's hands is probably their next move.
But you're stretching it. Now you're stretching it too far with Halo
How do
because
you expand it
they're
right
trying to
now?
they're not trying to expand it. They're trying to concise it. They want it to be particular in the way they want it before they do
Well,
anything
no.
else.
Well, they're concising their new game. I'm just saying, like, hey, how do we get more people to be interested in our new game when it's announced? You get it in more people's hands. I really think that
Yeah,
you can't. The next Halo game, if they released it like right now or next year, I don't think it would do gangbuster numbers because the fan base just isn't cutting it anymore. Yes, I know it has a dedicated fan base. Yes, I know people, love Halo. But again, we're going back to that Starfield conversation I brought. Like, these numbers just aren't cutting it at Microsoft. Like, they're just not bringing in the numbers. And we saw that with Halo Infinite, where, like, the numbers weren't high, but because Xbox player base isn't high. And Halo Infinite was a free game. You don't even need Game Pass. You don't even need. But when you concise it to two markets, a market that's wasn't always a PC that wasn't always associated with Halo, and then Xbox, a market that's been dwindling since 2013. Like, you need to hire up your player count, and I think the best way to do that, even if you don't even make the new game only on, or even if you make the new game only on Xbox, at least you have people thinking about Xbox on Switch, and you have people thinking about Xbox or Halo in this case on Switch, and you have people thinking about Halo on PlayStation. You want to widen your audience so it narrows it down to the new game. They're not really, and this game is complete. We've played it before. Like, they don't really have to do anything. The most work they would have to do is probably maybe dumb it down for the Switch version. But even then, you assign that to a different studio. Microsoft owns 4J Studios. They literally port games to Switch for a living. That's all they do. Like, you have studios that can do this, while Halo Studios can focus on their new Halo game. And I think just widening the audience, I think, having the talk of the town be Halo. And I really think it would be smart because, again, like I said earlier, the taste we have in our mouth right now is Infinite, which, again, we like it, but, the general consensus out there seems to be like, well, it was okay, it wasn't great, it had its issues at
And look at
launch.
I feel like you're backtracking on your argument because earlier in this channel, what did you say? What should Xbox be doing right now
Well, they're not going to
with the
do that.
titles that they have?
I'm
But
changing.
that's okay. But now you're saying, but look, what I'm saying is they're not going to do that at the end of the day. They're just not going to do just because sure they can release it on the other consoles, but they're not going to want to do that. That's their baby. That's like asking Sony to do that with God of War. I know they're in the uptick, but that's because the previous console did so well relative to the Xbox One. I think we're just all lingering. We're lingering from that Xbox One failure, and we
But I
just
don't,
saw
I
it in the
don't, I
Xbox
don't think,
Series X.
but I don't think Xbox can recover from that. I think Xbox is
Now that's the
kind
big
of.
question. Yeah, you see, that's a question I haven't answered yet, though. I haven't said if Xbox is going to be successful this coming. I think I'm on the same boat with you. I think they're on a plateau, dude. I almost
When
think there's nothing they can do.
that's what I'm saying.
Because
And when I said earlier,
if you're gonna
I
ask me
wish
what can they
they.
benefit, it's not gonna be the Halo thing. There's just no way. That's not gonna benefit them in the end of the day. It's just not.
I
It's just not. It's the only
I
reason is
think
because
it would benefit them more than keeping it on their console.
Well, I think releasing any game on any console would benefit them more because you're just going to make a profit off of releasing it
Exactly.
on a different console. But
Exactly.
that's kind of like end basis stuff. Like if they start doing that, Xbox is just going to close down. They're going to do
But
something else
they're already
after that.
doing that.
No, they have the
Indiana
Xbox title.
Jones. Indiana Jones, before it was even released, they said, "Hey, it's coming to PlayStation." We looked at those Starfield numbers. It's coming to PlayStation. I bet you. I'm gonna call it right now. When Indiana Jones comes on PlayStation, it's gonna be more the talk of the town than it was on Xbox. That's just how it works. People on Game Pass played Indiana Jones, and some people
Well,
liked it.
that's strictly because more people own PS5s, dude. That's just a numbers thing.
That's
Of
what I'm
course, it's gonna
saying.
do that.
Well, that's what
That's
I'm
what I'm saying
saying.
because it's lingering from the Xbox One sales. But that's like a whole different situation. That's now Microsoft and Xbox have to make a decision whether or not they want to take that route. But that route, they're just gonna not only reform themselves into other companies, they're just going to at that point they're just going to be a gaming company with no consoles. And that's what they're going to be at the
Yeah,
end
and
of
I
the day.
think that's what they
And
should
then
do.
they're going
I
to
don't think
double
they're
down
gonna
in
do. I
Game
don't think they're gonna
Pass.
do that though. I think they're stuck in the rock and a hard place. They have this hardware that people have invested hundreds, thousands of dollars in, hundreds,
And again,
thousands,
it's
millions
better
of
hardware
hours.
than the Sony has. That's the crazy part. You can look at the stats; it's just better. The console's better performing than the PlayStation is, and that's like the sucky part. Like
But I mean,
even with knowing that fact, it doesn't change anything. That's the
it
worst part
doesn't
about it.
because it doesn't matter. And
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, in that case, like it's not even better by much. Like if
Oh
you
yeah.
showed,
No. By no
yeah,
means is it, but it's the little things that do count at the end of the day.
yeah,
You know what I
and
mean?
that's what I'm saying.
It's not.
Nintendo, Xbox is putting their eggs in the wrong basket. I think the whole power race should just be thrown out the window. And I wish they just focused more on games. And I think to that point, like, earlier I said, I wish they were more stern. We're past that point. They can't be stern anymore because now they showed the world how gracious they can be. The minute you take that away, people are going to leave. We talked about this a few dinners ago where, like, they can never just say, let's say the new Halo's announced. They can never not say it's on Game Pass. It has to be on Game Pass. There's no
Oh
excuse.
yeah.
There's no, because they promised it and now they put themselves in a ditch of like, damn, we're just never going to make $70 off this game. People are only going to pay $20 and hope, to God people like, stay subscribed. But, you have people like I think they're seeing it a lot more now because earlier in January, they reported that the Game Pass sales had the biggest dip ever because people like me bought it for Call of Duty, Indiana Jones, and then canceled it. I immediately canceled that bad boy in January because I just didn't care. And I think they're
Yeah.
seeing that, and I think it's backfiring in them. So that's why I'm saying, like, why not put their biggest franchise on
I think that
another system?
you're playing the point of just fucking do it because you're failing. That then they're not going to do it just because that's not a good point to make because that would make Game Pass successful because they released it on PC and that would technically bring people into Xbox, but it didn't. So that point is kind of moot because if it's going to be available on those other consoles, sure, it might make a little money for them, but at the end of the
I
day,
think I think it would make a lot of money for them. I think we're under. I think we're
I
under.
think only Halo would do that. Though. I think any other game would not.
No,
do that.
no. We've already.
Yeah.
That's,
Oh, strictly.
no. I'm saying like
Strictly.
so earlier last year. Let's backpedal. A little. Earlier last year in January, Xbox had like a podcast type thing, and they said we're gonna test the waters. We're releasing 4 games, 2 on PlayStation, 2 on Switch. We're just gonna see how they do. Sea of Thieves, Grounded, I forgot the other 2, but those games came out on these consoles, and they sold phenomenal. And Microsoft, this is where Microsoft have stepped in, like, whoa. You mean we can put these bad boys, these games that we've had on Xbox for like 5, 6 years now, you can put them on other consoles, and they sell just as much as they did on Xbox?
Oh no way!
And
Xbox One sold way more. As far as those
no,
games in particular,
I'm saying, Sea of
if you're
Thieves.
relative to the Xbox Series X, sure. But if we talk about with Xbox One sales included, no way.
No,
See if
I'm not.
these.
Sea of Thieves didn't sell that well because it was on. I never bought Sea of Thieves, Hector. That was on Game Pass sales. Don't count. You can't do that metric. Microsoft's looking at the who
You
paid
technically
$60
can.
for a game. Well, yeah, but
The reason I was like, you definitely could do the metrics. They're not
but
going to
I'm
release
saying,
something where
but
they
I'm
can't write
saying,
metrics on.
well, no. I'm saying like Microsoft is looking at who paid $60 for Sea of Thieves. 2 million players on Xbox One. 3-4 million on PS5 2 weeks in. Like, it sold. I bought it on PlayStation because Max bought it on PlayStation. Nick bought it on PlayStation. You see what I'm getting at? Like, people bought it on PlayStation because it was on PlayStation. And I think that's where Microsoft stepped in. Phil Spencer said, only 4 games. 4 months later, when it sold well on other consoles, they're like, yeah, we're changing our mind. We're going to release this. Forza's coming, and this is coming. And actually, and then Phil Spencer said, and this is what blew up the internet that day, they said there are no limits on what we're releasing on other consoles, which basically just leaves the door up like, yeah, Halo's coming, in my opinion.
To
Like,
be
that
fair,
just,
they only said that after all the acquisitions. That wasn't
no.
on the game plan of anything.
This podcast was last year. This is years after they bought. They were just testing the waters, and they didn't
Which would
know
be
how.
it would be technically a year and a half after they acquired those companies, actually.
Yeah,
But
Sea of
but
Thieves
in,
isn't
in
even.
its
But Sea of
entirety,
Thieves isn't even one of the acquired. The Sea of Thieves is their title.
yeah, no, yeah, they acquired Rare
Yeah.
before. Yeah, they've had Rare. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, in that retrospect, they had a lot of when they said that, they had a lot of turmoil with people not liking that they did that. That was more of the drive of them saying that.
Yeah.
As far as the test plays go, yeah, that did obviously contribute to that. But even if you look at player count now, Sea of Thieves has more online people on Game Pass than it does on PlayStation, and by leaps and bounds. Sure, it's sold as a game more.
How do you check that? I don't think that's true at all. I think
You can check the servers for Sea of Thieves. That you can
It's
see who's
crossplay.
playing what. Yeah, I know it's crossplay. Yeah, I know you could. You can still tell who's playing on a console and PC versus a PlayStation. They have ways to do it, and you can check that. Those are obvious. But I will say PC does have an uptick on Xbox though. So I mean that's like still a downfall for Game Pass because why get it on Xbox? You could just get it on PC, and that's the stupidest thing to me. Like that's so dumb. That's like the stupidest idea to me. And it's like you said though. At the end of the day, Microsoft is on a really bad track, and they have to make a choice. And one of those choices ultimately is just going to make them integrate into something entirely different, and the other one is just a risk. And I don't know. They should take the risk, man. I think they should definitely do what they're doing, and
I think it's too late to take the risk, man.
It
I
might
think
be.
they gotta. I think they
It
just
might
have to.
be.
I think they just have to buckle down and kind of just do. I mean, and I think they're already doing it again. And I'm telling you, like, we can talk about rumors. We can talk about what we think. Like, I legit think Halo's gonna be announced for Switch. I wouldn't be surprised if it's announced in the big direct coming up for Switch 2. Like, it's already literally the poster child of like Nintendo's working with these companies. Nintendo posted this, and smack right in the middle is Xbox Studios. Like, they're working with Xbox, very closely. Phil Spencer even said he called up the CEO of Nintendo, congratulated him on the reveal of the Switch 2. Like, they have a close connection, and I think that's because like these games are coming to Switch 2 and PlayStation. It would be weird if they only released them on Nintendo. So I do think it's.
I would say that, but Nintendo and Xbox have had a good relationship in the past 5-10 years, so it's not like the weirdest thing to
that's
think
what I'm
it would only
saying.
be on Switch.
Look
But
at
I don't
what they
think
got,
it's gonna
though.
be. I don't think it's gonna be a Halo thing. What I think is, Nintendo has been a very big indie game helper. They love to do that. That's their thing. Nintendo loves to do that stuff. They like to perfect it. If they're gonna get an indie game in there, they're gonna want to make sure that indie game company does right and does it in a way that not only respects their own game, but also works well with the Switch. And Xbox hasn't done that. That's a problem. They'll buy these game indie companies and they don't care. There's no oversight. They just release these indie companies. And I think Phil Spencer is talking about being more open about these indie games and having Nintendo help them pathway themselves into doing, because Xbox really does want to lean into these indie games. If you look at the past um, releases and these past Xbox announcements, it's mostly been just strictly indie game titles, and they even tell you that. They're like, hey, this is what we're focusing on, it's indie games. That's what we're going
Who,
to do.
Xbox or Nintendo?
Because Xbox.
Oh.
But Xbox doesn't do it right, is all I'm saying. Xbox isn't doing it the way they should.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because
Game Pass.
not just Game Pass. Like, it's not just indie games. Developers have done it. Capcom did this for Marvel vs. Capcom collection, I believe, and like other companies have done it. Like people are just straight up skipping Xbox because if they're not on Game Pass, they're not gonna thrive, and if they're on Game Pass, they're probably not gonna make as much money. Again, they're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I'm telling you, Game Pass is the worst thing for indie gamers. Like it's
Yeah.
just not working for them. It's just not.
It's
That's
the
what I'm
worst
saying.
thing for
Xbox isn't.
Xbox. It's the worst thing. It's not even just indie game. Like,
Well, no,
I will always stand on
Xbox
the
is
ground.
going to be.
No, they're not.
I
They're
think
losing
Xbox
money.
financially is going to be fine. No, yeah, but Microsoft is like the biggest company.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
but the thing
they
is,
have daddy's money.
Microsoft
You don't
is
need to worry
not
about that.
clearly, and this is clear because they stepped in. Microsoft was okay with taking the hit for a few years. They're not gonna sit here and be like, "Hey, yeah, it's okay if your profits are in the red this year again. Lower than last year. It's okay, man." Like they're not gonna keep doing that. They're gonna be like, "Okay, whoa, how do we make a profit?" And again, once they did those test runs with other, on the consoles, like, wait, okay. Game Pass is such a beneficial. It benefits us, the gamer, because it is a good deal in the grand scheme of it. But again, when you're making these Starfield games, you're making these Fallout games, you're making these, Forza games, like these games take millions to make, and they're not making it back. And Microsoft does not care about winning over the people anymore, And not to say Microsoft was ever a very kind company, but like Xbox, I think was. Phil Spencer, I will always die on this hill, is one of the best CEOs ever. I really think he is trying. I really think he's trying to benefit the gamer. But I think he's not in control anymore. And I think, and now people are calling him a liar because I think when he said in that podcast, yes, we're going to keep games like Starfield close to our heart. We're going to keep games like Indiana Jones to our heart. Now that are going on other consoles, that wasn't his decision. Some bald guy at Microsoft just probably stepped in his office, like, released Indiana Jones on PS5 and just walked out. And he had nothing. He couldn't say anything.
That's definitely the truth. There's no way that Phil Spencer would say something in that because he's typically a man of his word. But what I'm mainly saying is it doesn't matter if they redline. Microsoft is going to come in and do something about it. All I'm saying is they're not going to let that. Like they're not going to let Xbox just fall off like that. Is all I'm saying.
Even and that's what I'm saying. I think Microsoft wants them to. Microsoft wants them. So like. Going back to your Halo argument, it sounds like you just kind of want Halo to kind of do what it's been doing, right?
No, I would want it to be on other consoles. I just don't think they're going to do it. Is what you're asking. I want it to be on other consoles. Don't get me wrong.
Okay, no,
I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. You like if I'm looking at my wants and what I think is going to happen. If you're used to the gaming community, let me ask you
why. Like, why would the guy from Microsoft that walks in, why wouldn't he say do that? If Halo is not selling not well on Xbox, why wouldn't you put your mascot on other consoles?
No, that makes sense. But as far as I think that's where it is. The mascot, I think, is just going to be revered until. I don't think it's going. Your question was, are they going to release it for the Switch 2? I don't think they're going to do it so soon. That's all I'm saying. Maybe they'll do it in the future. I don't think they're going to do it now, though. I don't think it's going to happen soon. Well, I don't think Microsoft is just there yet. They're almost there, yes, but I don't think they're close to doing it. With how early the Switch 2 is going to release, and the talks of other consoles being made, it's not going to happen.
For the record, I'm saying I'm not saying it's going to be released tomorrow. I'm saying like maybe a holiday.
No, but you said when they do the direct.
No,
I don't think that's going to happen.
I think it's going to be announced. I think it's going to be announced at the direct.
I'm going to give it. If it's going to happen, I definitely give it about a year. It's a year or two at the least. I think they're going to want to. I think Microsoft wants to see the performance of the next consoles, and they'll make a decision. I definitely think that's what they want to do, because if they're coming in at this time, they're not going to want Xbox to jump the gun on anything. They only wanted them to release those games on those consoles because those games are already released. It's not like they're titles that are waiting to be released. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are, I get they're old Halo games that they could be doing, but with the new Halo in the works, I think it's such just an awkward place to have put it.
Yeah.
Maybe after the next Halo releases.
I think I think you have to do it before the next Halo.
Well, it depends on how fast they fast track this next Halo. It really depends on when they're going to release it.
I definitely think the next Halo is going to be like 2-3 years though. I don't think that's
honestly they're further in development than they let on to when they.
Yeah, but I guarantee you, after Halo Infinite kind of got plastered together, I guarantee you Xbox is gonna be like, give it another year.
Take their time with it.
Yeah.
Well, with this whole new,
they should.
Yeah, no, every game
Yeah,
should do that at this point because
yeah,
that's been a big deficit right now is
yeah.
releasing games that are unfinished, and we can go on hours about that because I don't think any big title studio has released a perfect game in the past few years. Like, look
Nintendo,
at
Tears of the Kingdom,
yeah, you see
baby.
there goes with Nintendo because they take their time with it. You know what I'm talking about? But
Too much
look
time.
at look at look at all these like
Like
open
a
world games
Pokemon.
or
Bleh.
dude, a lot of companies don't know what they're doing anymore. They just want to release games to release games. I think they're trying to, like you said, they're trying to chase PC so hard that they're stumbling over their games. You know how
That's
many
what.
times a game has to say "I'm sorry" before like anything gets corrected? It's insane. It's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that, but that's a good point. Bring that back up. Like, I think that's a good example of what Microsoft doesn't really want to do. Chasing PC,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I get that.
I
That makes
think
sense
they're
actually.
gonna look at it and like, actually, the money isn't PC. Clearly, I think the PC has a good base, and when I do play Xbox stuff, I do usually play it on PC. But I think they're also like, wait. These other consoles, though,
To
you
be
know,
fair, they're leading on this Halo game to be finished pretty soon, but I think
yeah,
you're right in the aspect as I think they're going to delay that because
yeah. I think
they're
they
going
should
to see
delay
what they
that.
did. They
And you know
really
what?
are.
If we're looking at it, maybe things change. Maybe it was closer to development, but then maybe on the roadmap they're like, wait, we can give you more time,
Squeeze something in there.
and the squeeze something in there is gonna be them re-releasing the
Hey,
older game.
you know what? If they delay it, they delay production on that because they're fast tracking all that right now. Like
Yeah,
that's just something they came out and openly spoke about as far as being the new Halo Studios. Um, that's like their main priority. Essentially, well, obviously they named their freaking company Halo Studios. Uh, but I mean, going back on that, I if there's one thing I hate about this new generation of games is that they have been doing the worst as far as releasing half games. And I'm like, I'm tired of waiting for the full game. And it's
yeah,
not like DLC content. It's just like basic, like it's normal at this point. Like let's talk about
yeah.
Pokemon TCG. They half of the things aren't even available in there because they're just like, well, we didn't know what we were doing yet.
Well, that's a mobile
What
game.
was
That's different.
but no, but I'm saying it's normal for them to do that now. They've never done
Yeah,
that with mobile games before. That's not anything that happened. Pokemon Go only did that because it was such a big game and it took off so fast. As far as trading go, they could have worked all that stuff out. But as far as Pokemon Go went, that was like they really didn't know what they wanted to do to begin with.
I
Pokemon
guess.
TCG's been out. It's been
I
a
think
thing. There's
Pokemon.
not they don't
I think Pokemon TCG is a bad example, but I get what you're saying. There are a lot of half baked games where like this is the game.
no, but
Um,
it's the fact that they're okay with doing that is what I don't
well,
like.
I
I
think
think
the
it's
way
what it is.
trading is in the game, I think it was always planned like that, where you could only trade last sets. Like you can't trade
Yeah.
current sets. So if trading was available from the start, it would break that rule. So I think that was always the plan. I don't think that was a, oh shoot, we didn't finish it in time. I think, hey, we're gonna release trading with the first big update and only allow you to trade the previous set. So I think that was a plan thing.
And then you could think
But
on
I
the
get what you're
opposite
saying.
spectrum.
There's a lot of games that do come out and you're like, they ask for
But
your
then you
money and
could
they're like, it's not out. It's like, okay,
but I
well,
think you're with me on that. I think you're with me
yeah,
as
no, I
far as
agree.
like, dude, but then we can look at the opposite spectrum. One of the most successful games on the planet was never finished.
What? Fortnite?
Come on. Huh? No, come on.
One of the most successful games on the planet was never
Almost
finished.
was never finished until recently. Minecraft.
Oh, I was not thinking
Minecraft
Minecraft.
is
What
like
was?
one of the most successful games. Almost beta the entire damn time. And it's like it succeeded. But I think that like I as much as good as Minecraft is, I blame them for doing that because they made that just standard now. Like, oh, open beta for the next 10 years. God damn it, man! Really?
Yeah, I feel like Minecraft's a weird example for that too, though.
Yeah, it is a weird example though. But
Yeah,
they should have just been like, okay, this is the game. Get ready for stuff to come out. Look at this is our roadmap.
I'm
Not
talking
we're in
like
beta for.
when you talk about that, I'm thinking more of something like Cyberpunk, where the game was
Yeah, the game wasn't even
glitchy and not
prefaced as far as
finished, and
like,
like, you know,
yeah, it doesn't interface well with it. And
yeah,
yet, no, but look at that's the best example. That's one of the good examples because that happened, and look at us now. People talk about it highly. People love that
Yeah.
game now.
Yeah.
They made that normal, and that's so stupid. Like that should have been a game killer. Nobody should have been talking about that game anymore.
I agree.
Just
Oh, another good example. Another good example.
outer
No, I know what you're talking about. Oh,
the space one. Oh, what is it?
yes.
Um,
Uh,
is it Outer Worlds?
no, it's the. Oh,
Um, we know it. Oh man,
I know what
I
you're
gotta look
talking
it
about.
up.
It's
Hold
the
on, I gotta
PlayStation one,
look it up.
right? The.
Yeah,
Don't tell me it.
I'm
Just
not
look
gonna
it up.
tell you. I'm gonna let you guess.
It's Oh man. Space. Oh my god, you're gonna
Oh,
see
I
this.
already got it. Okay.
What's the first letter?
No, you got it. You got it. You got
Let's
it. No, you can get it. You can get it. Don't think Interstellar. Don't think space. Don't even think any of that. It's none of that.
I know.
Don't think like cosmic. Don't even think about any of that.
What's the first letter?
It's the first word's no.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
Yeah, there you go.
I would
Yeah,
have never got that, man.
look at that game died. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, no, that game released horribly, and then they fixed it. I mean, it's probably dead now, but
it's dead. Like it's.
Yeah.
But look at Cyberpunk. People still play that stupid ass game. I see clips of Cyberpunk all over the place. That game should have been done with. They should have been cooked. They should have been cooked. It should have been a done deal. Like No Man's Sky. If that's, I think both games should have been dead at that point. They should have either released another game, try to do it right the next time, or something different. There's just no way. That shouldn't be normal. I don't like that. That's like the dumb thing for me. Like, can you think of a game that released back then that was just not it? Like, it didn't even... Like, even GTAs. They released the game, and there's glitches and everything, but that's it. It glitched. Like, there's no fixing, there's no re-release, there's no upscaling, there's no downscaling. They just let them out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they worked.
Yep. That's just the era we're in now.
Horrible.
Well,
oh man,
I really do hope Xbox figures it out. Like you mentioned at the very beginning of this podcast, I think it is important to have competition, and I do fear that once Xbox starts settling down, once Xbox starts giving away their games, once Xbox kind of gives up on hardware in the sense where, like, I really do think the next Xbox isn't going to do anything spectacular. I think it's just going to be a box. I think I think that's for them. That's all they want it to be. They just want it to be a box in your living room that you can play games on. It doesn't have to blow your socks off. It's probably going to be a lot cheaper too, I bet you, compared to the other consoles, because it's not trying to do what the other consoles are trying to do. It's not trying to sell you on the exclusivity that it's going to get. And that might sound fine for the consumer at first, but I do think it's going to give the gaming space a really awkward feel, because you're going to have all three game console makers kind of doing their different things in a weird way of, like, it's not going to feel like the 360, Wii, and PS3.
Oh yeah.
PS5 is going to be trying king of the world. Nintendo's never trying to be king. They're trying to do their own thing. At the end of the day, you know, us Nintendo fans will die on this hill. Like, Nintendo is a toy making company, and they're just going to try to do their fun thing.
Nintendo's always been good at finding the corner they can fit in that generation, and fitting in it perfectly. Like, they know how to freaking fill a nook and cranny. They just do it. You know what I mean? When it comes to motion controlling, they did it right. They did it well, and nobody will ever do it as good as they ever did.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. Oculus or not, VR or not, we did it. They did it, and people are still trying to jump off the hype of the Wii. Like, still to this day. Like,
and I think you're just gonna get into a scary corner of this, like, PlayStation's just going to kind of get comfortable and not innovate. Nintendo's kind of already shown that, like, you know, again, I love Nintendo, but they've kind of shown that the Switch 2...
They have complaints.
They're playing safe. They're, like, they're not, you know...
Yeah,
they're just kind of like...
They should.
And that's fine. That's
broken.
what I want. But I'm saying, like, now everybody's kind of playing safe, and there's going to be no innovation. We're probably going to get cocky Sony again, where, like, they think they can just kind of walk over everybody, which is never good Sony. I mean, if you look at PS3... so I just kind of
history. Hey, Xbox, when they first released their first console, they did it in a bankruptcy. Microsoft was going to let them go. They didn't believe any of the things they wanted to do. And sure, now we have a history. Now Xbox has a history to work on, and Can they do that again? Can they get Microsoft's good graces and try to do something above something they've never done before? I'm not saying as far as innovation wise, but can they reach out to us like they did before? Like you're saying, reach out to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what you want to see Xbox do. But can they do something that can amass to the fight that they had with the first Xbox? That's because that's what they're going to need. I think at this point they're going to need that kind of thing. You know what
But
I'm
the thing
saying?
is,
They're
they
gonna need
need
to take
so
a moonshot.
much. But they need so much firepower that I don't think it's
That's what
possible,
I'm
really.
saying. I,
Like, and again, I'm gonna
we've
keep
seen
using
crazy
Nick
stuff
as a
happen in games.
That's true, but I'm gonna use. I always use. I like to use like family or friends as threshold. Like I'm gonna use Nick as a threshold. Like, what will it take for Nick to jump back on the Xbox bandwagon? And I'm honestly, I know Nick, in and out. Like, I can't think of one thing that would make him win over back to Xbox, because we're in a market space where like, you know, again, it comes down to the games, and Xbox, they really just have to double down and bring the games. But the problem is they're now in a spot where people are expecting them to bring the games to other places. So the idea of me owning an Xbox is just dwindles more and more every day because there's just no need to, you know.
I think I think what it's going to take. I think they need to. I think they need to Fortnite it. I'm not saying make a battle royale. I'm saying the impact that Fortnite had as far as releasing and introducing something to a big market, because battle royales existed before that. That's not the first battle royale that's ever been made, but they did it in a way where it like really emphasized that game. I think if Xbox finds something as far as like a main title, I'm like halfway with you. I
But
want
the
them to
thing,
have a title. I want them to
but the,
have one, but I think
but
a
the
new one needs to be made.
But the thing with that logic, because I agree, but the thing, like, let's say, just throwing an example, let's say they make the best damn RPG ever made to mankind. Let's just say it's an RPG. Or a shooter. Like, we can say shooter,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, I get what you.
It's,
Just they find the threshold in that
they,
category.
but would they only put it on Xbox? I
I
don't,
think they
and the state,
should.
and
I think
I
they
think they
should.
should. They should. I don't think they
They,
will.
I don't think they will. But you see,
And that's what I'm saying.
that's where we
That's what I'm
agree.
saying.
That's where they're gonna find. But they need that, and I think they need to see that, and they don't do it because, like you said, they're in a tussle right now with not only themselves and what they've been doing, but now they have to fight Microsoft as far as like.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not new to them, though. I want to let you know that's not new to them. Fighting Microsoft is not a new thing that Xbox as a company has done. They've done that before. That's not the biggest thing, but it's what they're doing with themselves. I think the variable that changes from when they did it before and made a crazy successful saga of consoles, and now is that they have a history. I think that's what changes all of it.
Yeah.
That's like ultimately what they're gonna fight, and it's like we're seeing a turn in this whole thing. I want to bring up a good point about Nintendo just to give you a bigger head. I love that Nintendo does a thing and someone else and then a bunch of other people do that thing and it never does the thing.
It's not
Like
as
it just
good.
is never like move, connect,
What can I say,
VR, not even
Nintendo?
that. Steam Deck, all those things. They can't do the thing that Nintendo's already done.
You're
And
gonna
that's
see
like the
Xbox in a few years make a Xbox alarm clock, and it's just not gonna be as good.
it's so stupid.
Doesn't make Zelda
And I think
sounds, don't care.
I
But if it makes banjo
and
sounds, I'll be there day one. Xbox,
what
message me.
I do want to ask you when you already said that there's nothing going to be changing soon with Nintendo as far as like them doing something crazy as an overturn. But like, what will make them do it? What does incite them to do it? Have you noticed anything? I'm not a big
Do
Nintendo
what?
fan, so I don't know what happened before the Switch. I mean, the Wii that made them do the Wii. I don't know what happened. I get the DS and the Game Boy. There's just
It's
a
simple,
lineage of
my
that one.
friend. It's simple, my friend. Desperation. GameCube failed.
That's
GameCube failed. They make the Wii. Wii U failed. They make the Switch.
oh, mm.
Usually they would make a
That's actually
failed
pretty good.
console right now, but Switch 2, they're playing it
So
safe. They don't want another.
Nintendo almost wants that. They almost want a
So
downtrodden.
if you look at it like this, Nintendo's a good example of like when you get down, you can get back up. But
Yeah,
with Xbox, they got down
but they
and then
went
they kept going
down.
down. They
No,
kept
they
going
went
down. They
down.
failed Xbox. They failed 2 generations. people I think could handle a failed generation. Xbox
Oh, I
One
see
and
what you mean.
Series X. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Also,
No, I don't. Xbox X. I
also,
don't
I just want to
think.
talk about how the freaking those Xbox names are the stupidest names I've ever heard in my life. But I
Yeah, no,
digress.
no. I will agree. The names are not the best, but I definitely don't think Xbox Series X. I think Xbox Series X is a victim of circumstance. I definitely think that's what it is. But I don't think it did worse than they could have done. I think it's definitely a little bit of an uptick. Still a failure, I will agree, because of what happened. But I don't think it's Xbox Series X's fault. I think it's just the way that the
Well, no,
company is.
I don't think Xbox Series X is like the
Because
biggest
it's a great
failure.
console. I love my Series X.
But
It's
I
amazing.
don't think I don't think it I don't think it brought people back enough.
Oh yeah, no way. Yeah,
You know what I
no, no
mean?
way did it. No way did it Nintendo anything. That's
Yeah,
basically what
because
we're saying.
you can even bring like if you bring the GameCube back into this, like the GameCube failed in its own way. The Wii U succeeded in a weird niche way where like it didn't bring Nintendo fans back, but it brought the the every parent, every grandma, grandpa, like it brought the casual audience into the mix that made it successful. Because if you look at those Wii numbers, those last like 2 years, like the Wii was just the bottom of the barrel, didn't do well, because people kind of moved on from the fad, which is fine. But the Wii is a good example where like it was a success enough to get Nintendo back on the map, and then Xbox needed that for the Series X. They just needed a small success to get them back on the map, and they didn't do that. So it's like a double blow to Xbox fans, like a double punch of like, oh man, you really don't have it together. And that's where I think a next generation is really gonna show. Like, like it's already confirmed the PlayStation 5 I think is outselling the Xbox Series X like 3-1. So like,
Yeah.
and that also
Which
shows like
honestly, as
people are
far as
buying the
numbers goes, that's
Xbox.
not the worst. I was like,
That's what I'm saying. It shows people
if
are
you know
buying the
console history,
Xbox.
no way
Yeah.
is that the
So it's not
worst.
terrible, but I think it's just only gonna get worse. Like if they release the new Xbox next year, like I don't think people would, dive on that. And again, I also think the Xbox and the PlayStation 5 to an extent have only been as successful as they've been because of COVID, of like everybody just wanting the new console, everybody memeing like, oh my god, my local Walmart doesn't have an Xbox or a PlayStation, so they have a lot to prove. I'm sure we can talk about this for hours. I am interested now to see what happens with Halo on Switch. If Halo's announced on Switch on April 2nd, you owe me dinner.
I definitely owe you dinner. I don't
And
think it's
if
gonna
they
happen. You know,
and
you owe me dinner.
if they don't announce it, I owe you dinner. All right, you heard it here. Halo, April 2nd.
Yeah, I was
April
just looking. I
third,
was just trying to look at
I'll
these
be sending a
numbers,
picture of my
and
sushi.
it's funny because total sales. Xbox 360 beat out PS3 3-1 as well. So it's like
Hmm.
it's not the worst. It's like meh, but again, it's not. I think we're all focusing on the consoles. I think the companies are what we're. It's so weird to say that because back then it was about consoles. Now it's about the company. What the hell are they doing about it now? And it's such a weird thing to. That's why you don't see these Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo wars anymore, because it's not about the console. It was only about the console back then. It's like my console's better. No, my console's better than yours. No, now it's just about like, yeah, my company's destroying my gaming experience.
Yeah.
like,
And
it's
again, I
grim.
don't I don't think it's a weird take because you're right,
It
because if
is.
someone bought their kid an Xbox, I'm sure they would love. They're not gonna sit here and talk about the inner how a company runs. It's like it has games. It
Yeah.
runs well. It runs great, and it does what you need it to do. I just think seeing what Xbox has done before and what they could do and what they
Yeah.
can do is very disappointing that they don't do that. And and again, I think I mentioned in the beginning that I have sort of a bias towards it because to me they've been doing this to me since they bought Banjo. But that was just kind of the beginning of just like them doing these weird decisions, just like not, just
I
it's
don't know.
just
Believe me, as an Xbox fan, it looks like we're talking to our crazy uncle. I swear to God,
yeah.
every day we're like, dude, what are you saying? Like,
And again,
what?
I'm not running a billion-dollar company. Like to me, it seems like the answers are very obvious, but clearly I know they're not. I know I have no knowledge about like how things
And no, but honestly,
work
at the
behind
end
the
of the day, Randy, you
scenes.
might be right. It might be
Yeah,
that easy. It
yeah,
just might be bureaucracy. It might be the things that they can and cannot do. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
who knows what they can withhold and what they're able to do, what Microsoft is letting them, or what they're even allowing themselves to want to do. And it needs to. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy for consoles, and it's slowly happening, but it's gonna be a weird. It's gonna be a weird change. I have a weird feeling.
This is exciting to look at though. But
Yeah.
again, at the end of the day, again, hope Xbox figures it out. If not, as a gamer, I'm benefiting off their failure because I'm just getting more games on the consoles I play on. I know that sounds
Yeah.
horrible to say, but I mean, at the end of the day, Microsoft is still getting my money some way. So I mean, I guess they're
You
still
see,
winning too. So
and there's the thing there. I will guarantee you that Xbox players are not gonna move to Sony or Nintendo. They're just gonna buy a PC at the end of the day, because if these games are being sold over there, I'm not gonna buy them. I'm just gonna get a PC and get everything there.
and
Like that's
you mentioned earlier, yes, Microsoft is still getting money off that, but that is not going in their Xbox quotas. So like
yeah. No, at the end
Xbox,
of the day, they know. But I think with Microsoft intervening in this way, I think they're seeing it as a win. I think they're seeing this too. I think
yeah,
I know that's what they're seeing, because the, it's so impressive how like to this day I'm still like amazed that PC is divided by components and not by company. Like there's such a cool monopoly there. But
yeah.
like nobody has really done it. Like they have Alienware and they have Razer and they have, but
Let's
nobody's
make
going
a
out there buying a
OS.
fuck. No one's getting a whole Razer unless you're a millionaire. Like nobody's
Yeah,
getting a whole built prefabbed Alienware PC. You're building your own PC. You're getting stuff from Nvidia, and you're getting stuff from GeForce, and you're getting different stuff. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
That's such a weird market to be rounded off. But at the end of the day, you're operating Windows, dude. I think they see that, and it's like,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like when if you're looking at the end quotas, they're not
oh yeah,
using
no way.
that as a cushion. Like
Which is, you know what? Which
people
is
are
probably
buying
a point
PCs
against
regardless.
Xbox.
That's
That's
what I'm
probably a
saying.
point against
That's exactly what
Xbox.
I'm saying. I'm saying
Microsoft's
yes,
probably like,
Microsoft's getting the money, but
hmm.
Xbox isn't getting the money. So Xbox isn't reporting that gain because that goes to Microsoft. That's
That's
what I'm
kind of
saying. Like
crazy, actually.
Xbox, yeah. So yes, you can argue, oh, Microsoft's still getting the money though. Like they don't care.
Which
They're not
makes you
looking at
think.
the statistic. They're
Which
looking
makes
at
you think.
they're not buying Xbox.
Do you think Microsoft's ever going to do something like that? Do you think they're going to, if Xbox, let's say, God forbid, the next decade and two decades maybe, that whole Xbox gets wiped? You know what I'm saying? Or let's be real, probably decade. Um, if that happens, do you think Microsoft's going to take advantage of that? Do you think they're going to try to do something? There's a
No,
market there, dude. No?
no. I think
Weird.
Xbox already knows they can't compete with like Steam or anything. Steam already has a
Yeah,
monopoly. I mean, they've even
that's
shown
that's
that
why
like
Game
there's some
Pass is trying
handhelds.
to. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, again, they're stuck in a rock and a hard place. They can't get the console market. They can't get really the PC market. I think the best they can do is like, well, we own all these games. Let's just put them places. You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
could end up just doing that. They could be a focal point in gaming companies. Like they
Yeah.
can just be,
I'm like
um,
actually the best example. Now that I just literally just thought about this. The best example to put it is you're just gonna be the next Steam. Steam
yeah,
has their
that.
Steam boxes and
But
Steam
that's
has
what I'm
their
saying.
Steam decks,
Game
but
Pass,
they
and
also
then
have their
they acquired.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's what I was trying to say. That they want Game Pass to be Steam, and
Yeah.
if that's what they're gonna lean into, yeah, no, that actually might
And
work
that
because it does
and
coincide with the Microsoft. Yeah, no, holy crap, that's pretty interesting that you
yeah.
brought that
And
up.
that's what I'm saying. Like the next Xbox is literally just gonna be a box that maybe is more powerful. And it's gonna be marketed as if you wanna play these games in your living room and get Game Pass, this is the box for you. And then other gamers will be like, well, if you want to play like single player games from PlayStation, you buy a PlayStation. If you want to play Nintendo games, you buy a Switch. Like they're just gonna market
That would be
themselves as
smart to optimize Game Pass for
yeah,
their new console. Like to be like,
yes.
this is the optimal Game Pass experience if you want it. That's true. But they need to get
In
people.
fact, I would say this is a bold statement, but I would say make it required on your new box. Don't even give
Oh,
people the option to
interesting.
buy it anymore. Just make it like you need a subscription.
That's kind of what. Yeah, yeah. No, you're not wrong. Because like, even if you didn't have Xbox Live on Xbox, you could still play some games on Xbox.
That's what I'm saying.
On,
Yeah.
but
So
like
I don't know
PlayStation
how
though,
that would
you need
work.
to have PSN
Yeah,
Network to play any live
Yeah,
games ever.
yeah.
So
So I don't
yeah,
know
that would
I
be.
don't know the logistics of how that would work, but I feel like you buy an Xbox, and also Xbox. Just call it Xbox. Don't give it a stupid name. Just call it Xbox. Go back to
720,
basics.
baby.
They dropped the ball not naming the 720. I guarantee you
Crazy.
the Xbox One would be so successful it was called 720. Well, that's a story for another day. Hector, thank you for joining me today. I know we can talk for hours, but alas, we've been talking for over 2 hours already. I told you it would go by fast.
Oh yeah, easy. So what's the next Nintendo Direct? What am I waiting?
So
April?
April 2nd.
April?
April 2nd
April
is
2nd.
the
There we
Switch 2.
go.
And I will be live streaming that, even though it's at 6 a.m. And the minute they announce Halo 2, I'm going to wake up and say, free dinner on Hector, baby. Let's go.
I'll be there and I'll have a bill for you. Because I'll be
Okay.
eating the dinner.
All right. Hector, thank you for taking place for Edwin. Edwin, if you're watching this, you were missed.
We love
But
you.
hopefully you enjoyed the conversation. And yeah, Hector, later on in the year, when more Xbox shenanigans goes down, definitely going to have you back. And we'll update our what do we think is going to happen.
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
thank you
I'm
for
down.
joining. Alrighty. Thank you all for listening as always. Thank you for the support on the last episode, and the previous episode, and the previous episode, and all the episodes. Smash that like button, and good night.